Get on the stage here. All right, we are going live right now, 6 p.m. Standard Time. Start waiting for our chat to fill up. Lakes, haven't seen you in such a long time, man. Glad you can make it, sir. Yes, it's real. I came out of my live stream hibernation. I'm very, very sorry. I have a lot to make up for. I got really hung up with some online training and just trying to do the YouTube live stream and do that at the same time was killing me. So my wrench life is my main income, so I just picked 2 out of 3 things to survive until I could figure it all out. But it seems like the catastrophe is over and I can start juggling 3 things at once again. Quick wrench. How you doing, sir? Yes, I got to relearn how to use all these controls again. Very, very sorry. I was hoping to really see a lot of people from the last advertisement since I had, oh man, how many contact? We got 73 replies and the announcement that I was going to go live this Saturday. So I'm really hoping that they show up because they need to be here in order to collect their prize. I put up a short about a week ago announcing my comeback from hibernation, and pretty much as long as you participated in chat, I was going to hook them all up with a monthly subscription because we have big announcements for all the Baja Automotive proceeds, or I should call it YouTube revenue. All my YouTube revenue is going to be going to a cause for the next January, February, April, May, 3 months, 3 months. So hoping I get something out of that. I'm not in the monetized status yet, so pretty much all I get are just membership dues, which is about 75 cents. I keep it at $1. Not trying to run a big program here, but we are 6 minutes in. It's time to move on, guys. Thank you for showing up. I know everybody has busy Christmas break, so I don't want to keep you here forever. Tomorrow's Christmas Eve, and a lot of people are traveling. So we're going to move on with what we got. So this is what I'm talking about. Automotive Diagnostics and Programming LLC has announced that Megan is going to be running for a mega marathon from the West Coast to the East Coast. It's going to be like a 3,500-mile run. She has dedicated to running 150 miles of it, and it is crazy what she's going to be doing. She's going to be running from Nevada to Utah, and she's going to hit a peak elevation of 1.5 miles. Uh, in coordination with her participation in this MS run, Top Don has thrown their hat into the ring and said that they're going to be donating a Phoenix Light 2. That's a $900 scan tool. And if you go to Megan's page, and I'm going to throw that link up right now, got to copy it and move it over here. See if we can do it in a banner. Banner, yes, create banner. Nice. There it is. So basically, you just have to go to msruntheus.com or .org, but this is the long path that'll take you straight to her donation page. She's doing very well so far. She has made almost $9,000 out of her $10,000 commitment. I'm hoping that we can put her over the top. If you navigate to her page and you make a personal $25 donation that will go into your name personally. Okay. And that will get you in the drawing for a Phoenix Light 2. If you donate to the Baja Automotive, that does not get you into the drawing. I'm just giving up all my short stream revenue. I'm giving up all the membership revenue to them. So I'll be making a lump sum separate donation in April. Now, this contest does get cut off at the end of January 2024. So it's only running for about another 30 days. And there we go. Yeah, that's just my commitment to the cause. I put my 25 bucks in initially, and then whatever I scrounge up with my YouTube program, I'm going to dump in April at the final day and just put it over the top. So I'm hoping that I can scrounge together about 500 bucks. The YouTube channel is more of a hobby. It doesn't make a lot, but whatever does come in, I'll give to her. Results of what's going on so far with the channel. This is the first year the channel has been up. I probably took it serious in only the last 9 months, so it could have been better, but I'm having better results than I anticipated. A lot of learning curves here. Everybody helped out from JT and Fluffy with giving me some direction on what software to use and how to get some input loaded up. Really happy with that. 12,000 subscribers for the first year is fantastic. I'm really hoping to hit a goal of 50 by the end of next year to see where it goes. And as always, we are doing really good on some of the posts. Hit a few of them in the million mile markers. And then I got a fourth one that is trickling up. Hopefully, that'll get put over in about a month of traffic. So I want to thank everybody for viewing those and for sharing those and posting them on other message boards and whatnot to get some giggles out of it. I really try to make the videos a little bit on the humor side and a little bit on the serious side so that way it could just be a little light of entertaining. There are people out there who are making super serious videos and people who are making super comical videos, and I'm just trying to find a happy middle ground with my inability to pronounce words correctly but still get the job done at the same time with the right tools. Other than that, folks, we are done. I was just checking in. Like I said, this is everyone on their vacation. If there was a pile high club of people that were in here, we were going to stay and talk, but it's getting kind of dark in the comments, and we might just be calling it early at 6:30. So, what's going on with everybody? I came in here with very little agenda. I've actually spent the last 36 hours sleeping, man. Yeah, that seems to where I'm going. I'm just trying to entertain everybody else. You know, if you want to learn, there's some other great death by PowerPoint videos out there, but I believe that there's a lot of good knowledge in just having a little bit of a comedy show. I like to try and channel the Daily Show from Comedy Central, how they take serious topics, but they put some comedy in there to make it knowledgeable and entertaining. Oh, dude, they got you working on this Saturday. I feel you, dude. Uh, that's rough. No, the boss man, he closed the shop for Saturday today. He said today's a day off for you. And so this will probably be the first time I take 2 days off in a row. I've been working 6-day weeks way too long. So long that I can't even remember the last time I took a 2-day break. Yeah, man, I really do. And it's not because I'm shooting videos all the time at work. It's honestly just because of the level of work that I take on. I don't do tune-ups and I don't do gravy work. I usually take on work that is, well, I don't take on. I'm responsible for the work that takes 2 to 3 days usually to get done at the most. Usually there's parts delays or there's just customer idiosyncrasies that are going on. They don't get the right message, or I think at least 1 out of 10 tickets that I get it's a comeback for the shop. And when a comeback comes to the shop, uh, I kind of changed up the procedure on it. Is I made it in such a way to where you do not see the last technician's name because I don't want people to be like only a manager can know who the comeback is on, and I leave that conversation up for the manager. So it just goes to another technician, and that way you get an honest view of what was going on, and you determine if like was it a parts quality problem, is it a craftsmanship problem, or just was it a rookie mistake? Let that person call it as it is, and let the manager take that information and decide to counsel the previous person or not. And it's really kind of helped out with the work behavior because people just aren't so skittish now whenever they hear comeback. Like nobody knows, not even the advisor gets to know. Only the service manager gets to know. So only if everybody gets like super snoopy can you really find out who it is. But it's kept a lot more people just not. I'm trying to say it's reduced anxiety a lot, especially when you have about 20 people working on things and half those people are 2 years fresh. There's nothing worse than being the new guy, and then every time you see a tow truck, you go, "Is that mine?" It's it's just kind of a horrible life to live. Yeah, it's I get a lot more done when I don't work on waiters. I actually have that's that's kind of why I have more longer hours is I picked that life for myself. I had a choice. I could go waiters, which would get me more into some gravy work, but I would get a reduced hourly wage. But I took the pay raise to work on more arrogant customers, cars that are going to stay at least 2 or 3 days just to make sure the job gets done. So with that also came a second stall. Most technicians in our shop they only get one stall because they're just bolt-on techs. They do brakes, struts, and graving tune-ups. So with this extra work challenge came a second stall. So I get to have a diag stall where I can leave all my tools set up as a diagnostic station. And then I got a second stall where I can do heavy line, or if I do sell some gravy, I get to keep that. So if somebody comes in a 10-year-old car with 100,000 miles on it, it's never been maintained, and I fix their power steering problem. And oh, by the way, you've never done this, and this, and they decide that they want to catch up on everything at once. I get to keep that. So that just becomes my I call it my hot lane. So I got a cold lane and a hot lane and just trying to figure out how to keep my work hours down to like 10 hours a day, which has just been impossible. I keep finding a way to stay at the shop for 12 hours a day. And I keep finding a way for me to go in there almost every Saturday when I should be taking at least a 5 day work day. But a lot of it's just my problem for not making my work life balance kind of work out. Uh, Not today, Lakes. I'm setting a record for lack of productivity. My goal is to fix one bus. Nice. There's a shop that's just around my house about a mile away. They just opened up, and I'm checking them out because they have a good variety of vehicles that I'm kind of interested in working on. And I got to go see what their garage looks like because if they're kind of within my spec, I'd like to try and work something out with them. One, because they're super close to the house, and two, they're just getting some different stuff to work on. And they're also working on school buses too. So they work on U-Haul trucks, school buses, trucks, Econo vehicles. They seem to have a pretty wide skill set of people in there, and I got to go check up on them and see if I can fit into that crowd and if they have room for me. That's been the hardest thing when you start searching around for a place and you have quite the collection of stuff is I've been very spoiled where I'm at. I've been spoiled with the ability to just kind of spread out over a couple of stalls and do my own thing. So going into another place, I gotta start from scratch, and they might only say, "Hey, you get this one stall," or "We share all the stalls, and you work where you work." I've seen a couple of places like that where they just have 6 stalls, and whoever pulls a car into it gets to use it for the day, and I didn't really like that, because that if that person makes a mess in that stall and they don't wanna clean it up, I don't wanna go into that stall. It's like, you go work in your own filth. Uh, I went through your videos, and I'm entertained, inspired to do something like that, but independent. See, when you're independent, then you can get even more crazy, man. You can get even more crazy. I've actually just had some of the best video footage ever because I picked up on a pawn shop. And this is a GoPro 4. It's a Hero 4. So somebody had pawned this. It's a 4K camera, had all the clip-on accessories for your body, your wrist, your head, 3 batteries, a Pelican case. It was $99. And uh there are people on eBay who are just selling like a lot of these things, 6 Hero 4s for 200-300 bucks. And I am trying to figure out how to use some studio software, because what I want to do is I want to rig these cameras up in key locations on a car or a car lift. And I just want to set up a live stream while I'm at work. So I can have a couple of cameras. I can have a camera on each post. I can have a camera on the hutch of my toolbox, and then I can have a mobile cam on my toolbox. So trying to figure out how all that software works. And then the real clutch is I want the end user to be able to select the view that they want. So instead of just kind of giving you this kind of security cam footage where I'm like, here's 6 videos that you can't zoom in and see, I want you to actually be able to be like, oh, he's okay, he's working over there. I'll click on that one, just see what he's doing, just see what he's doing. And then just have a feed up all day where I can just chit chat with people. Now, I don't want to do that during my weekday work, but I'd really like to do that during my Saturday work when I really get left alone. Thank you very much. Advanced welcome. Thank you very much. Oh, dude. Well, I just woke up from like a day and a half nap. I have just been waking up, eating a breakfast burrito from that's a day old, and then going back to sleep. That's been my last 48 hours. I wanted to start the stream off about an hour ago, but I had to push it back an hour because I was still kind of sleeping. So I was trying to shake that off, and I just gave up, and I went and I got me an energy drink, and I'm kind of waking up now. But I would just wake up, I'd be like, okay, I'm gonna have a cup of coffee, and then 30 minutes later, I would pass back out. You're like, oh, okay. I call those nappuccinos. But yeah, it's the last 2 days have really just shown how tired I am. That I can just sleep through. I can sleep an entire day after I just had 3 cups of coffee. But I hope to be using the rest of today and tomorrow to just relax. I'm not going to be doing anything on the video. Not going to be doing any videos. I'm just going to be hanging out with the family because I've been ignoring them a lot. Thank you. Shopcat. We have assigned base, but we have multiple shifts, so we have to get along well. I worked in an environment like that. Yeah, you got a partner that you it's like working on a submarine where you got a hot bunk. So you share a mattress with the day shift guy, and you have to get up on time. Yeah, I spent when I was stationed in Korea, even though I was Air Force doesn't have ships, of course, but when we're in Korea, they do gigantic exercises that just kind of simulate all our first responder mechanics. And one of the things is somebody on my radio team has to draw the short straw and has to be the liaison for the Navy. And you can get stationed anywhere from a destroyer to a aircraft carrier. Doesn't know. So, well, I got stationed on a destroyer, which is like a floating submarine. Um, very, very tight quarters. You don't get any personal space. So if you have any kind of claustrophobia, or if you're just one of those people who really like get out of my bubble space, you don't get that opportunity. You have to just be like, whatever, dude. Like when it's shower time, like it's like that's your shower time. Your shower time's between like 0600 and 0610. So you got to be there. As soon as that dude turns off the tap, you're jumping in. Uh, Everything is just on a tight rotation like that. And same thing with sleeping. You don't get not everybody has a private quarters. That's an officer privilege. So all the enlisted people, like you're sharing a room that might have 6 bunks in it, and some of those bunks are shared between two people, day crew and night crew. So yeah, you had to make sure that you got up on time, because when that guy was coming off his shift and he was tired, you need to make sure that that mattress is flipped over, it's cleaned, and he's ready to take a nap. So that was kind of a wake up call for me. I didn't really see that. I didn't see that experience being part of my life, and I don't want to work on a destroyer. That's kind of how I came out of it. Is I'm glad I didn't join the Navy, because I would not have survived more than a week in that kind of lifestyle. And I did do it in a shop once for a while. I worked in a shop where we had day and night shift, and I absolutely hated it. I absolutely hated it. There's no respect between the day crew and the night crew. It was horrific. We had one thing where the day crew guys were doing this fuel pump recall, and their lazy asses could not roll the waste container for the gasoline. They couldn't roll that from the outside storage unit where the waste oil is kept at to their bay, and then uh, dump the if they dump the gasoline that they took out of the fuel tank into that, because if you got to change out a fuel pump and the customer comes in with a full tank of gas, uh, you got to take about 5 gallons off so it doesn't spill over and make the whole cabin smell like fumes. Our access points on the Subarus are through the cabin. We don't drop fuel tanks. If that's where I'm going. Yeah, that's where I'm going. So anyhow, so what these people were doing is they just went to the Home Depot and they bought a 5 gallon bucket, and they would just dump raw gas in there, and they would just leave it at the end of their bay. Now you get a bucket of raw gas open to atmosphere, and then you close all the bay doors, and the next crew comes in. It takes like an hour and a half to ventilate all that stuff out. We had one guy who just went to the emergency room because he was just having massive headaches. And my service manager could not get that through his damn head how dangerous that was to just leave gallons and gallons. We once found 3 gallons of raw gas in the shop, and when he didn't get it, we eventually just took all that raw gas, those buckets, and we left them in his office. And they stayed there over the weekend, and everything in his office smelled like gasoline for a month. He was pissed off. And it was only for the sheer sake that I am really good at paperwork, because I did a lot of administration in the military, and I've been cursed at enough by legal lawyers in the military and JAG that I kind of knew how to cover my bases with Texas workforce and HR. Is I had those incidences where we warned him of all these environmental hazards and how he said they weren't a problem. So when I had those written, documented accounts and text messages and voicemails from him, I brought that up during our little meeting, and I just let him know. I was like, "Well, you told me that this wasn't a problem." And I was like, "It was completely safe. There's no problem with it." So I didn't see a problem leaving it in here. There was an agree to disagree moment, but he wasn't working in that office for about a straight week, Well, they had cleaners in there shampooing carpet, anything that could absorb gas fumes. It was horrible. He had to get a new office chair. I was so proud of myself. I was so proud of myself. Moving on. Yes, yes, I like that. Choose your own adventure. Yes, yes. I did military for 12 years. I did Air Force for 12 years. I bounced from Montana to Lackland Air Force Base. I went to South Korea. I went to Djibouti, Africa, Uganda, Africa, and Afghanistan. I had a lot of good time in the military. Kind of wish I'd stayed the full 20, but I was given an opportunity to finish up some college and uh, become an engineer, and I took that approach. Uh, Quick Wrench says they buried me on my last day. When I leave tonight, I off till oh, nice. That's going to be a nice, good stretch there. Yes, I am actually going to be taking the first vacation probably in I don't know. I need my wife's confirmation on this one. I think the real vacation, real vacation. I've had staycations. It's like where I got some vacation and I just take 4 days off and I stay home. Those are staycations. Like we're actually leaving the local area and we're gonna go take a road trip to Michigan. So we're leaving next week, Tuesday, and we will not be back until the following Thursday. Yeah. So we're gonna take a good 9 or 10 days off, hit the road trip. We're gonna take the puppy in the car, put some miles on it. We're gonna go see some family we haven't seen in a long time. Shop cat. No, we no, we do kind of mostly don't get along with the day shift either. Specifically, the number two seniority guy hates my guts because I keep making them look dumb and fixing what they can't. I've been there. I've been there. And that is a pure management problem. And our that's why the shop I was at, they discontinued the night shift, day shift stuff because I kept emphasizing to the service manager that when night shift comes in, we need to have a day shift debrief and a night shift check-in. Like just 5-10 minutes, 5 or 10 minutes with a manager going over what you're leaving me and what I'm gonna do. But his dumbass, and he was a dumbass for doing this, just left it up to technicians. He says, "You guys can figure it out." I was like, "Then you're not a manager. Like, your job is to help us coordinate work and get it done." I was like, "If you have me do your job, then I'm a manager then. So that makes me higher ranking than your technicians, right?" He's like, "No, no, no." It's like, "Okay, then I need a manager to do this exchange." Like, this is 101 night shift, day shift stuff. Man, we butted heads so hard, but that was the pure root cause why there was so much hate between day shift and night shift was just because the fact that night shift would come in, day shift wouldn't leave any notes on anything. And sure enough, like we're doing things to our standard. There was no shop standard written in stone on how things needed to get done. So of course, everything that night shift did was always better than day crew. And it was just a constant struggle of like who's better. I'm like, we don't need to have a game of who's better. We just need to have a system of getting along. There was no continuity between the two shifts, and the only person who could facilitate that continuity was a manager. So I'm really glad he finally got his ass fired. He got himself fired for just being lazy. He was being a straight up lazy manager. Oh, you're welcome, man. And thank you for paying your taxes. Bullets and bombs are expensive, my friend. Dude, no way. I'm from Great Falls. Dude, Great Falls, Montana? No way, dude. Oh, my favorite bar in Great Falls was the Cartwheel. Love it. The Flamingo, I only went there if I got dragged there. And what else was the other popular one? You had 3Ds. 3Ds was a okay place. Really dark. Didn't like it. And but yeah, I was like all the I found it really really hilarious that all the big 4 by 4 guys and just like all the guys that love were dressing up like cowboys and driving ranch trucks, but lived inside the city and never rode a horse in their entire life, love going to Flamingo. I could never figure it out. 2 senior techs and a senior body man wanted to heat and bend the hinges of the door on a brand new bus. I loosened 4 acorn nuts, shook the door, tightened them up, done. Yeah, man, it's like you always got that one guy who's just like really fixated on one technique of getting things done. And then you have the other person who is like, well, like you, like in your situations, like instead of trying to just jump on the door hinges and bang them straight, can we just shim this thing like it's supposed to be? I had this problem in contracting all the time with sagging doors. Um, you have interior doors that sag and they rub on the frames. And what's the first old man wants to do is he just comes up with this crescent wrench and he's like, "Oh, we just bend the hinges back and then look, the door straight." I'm like, "Well, yeah, now you got bent hinges, you dumbass. Let's find out what's going on." "Oh, the hinges are actually getting ripped out of the frame. So let's just go ahead and take the hinges off, fill the hole, sand it, glue it shut, re-drill new holes, and look, the door works brand new." I didn't have this like make it look nice, man. This is not a rental. This is someone's house. Like we're getting paid $150 an hour to be here to work on a door. You're making it difficult. How embarrassing is it to just bend somebody's brackets only to come back the next year? Hey, the door's sagging again. I get where you're coming from, man. Some people are just really quick to just want to just turn and burn things. Ooh, you're in Michigan. Yes, I'm gonna be Hirsch. I'm gonna be the Jackson area, Adrian area, Hudson, Lansing. Be hanging out there. I'm hoping I get a call back from Tecton because they're about an hour drive away from that, and that's where the headquarters at. And I actually want to drive by and check them out. I got a thing I'm trying to work with Tecton tools. Funny thing is, other than being electric instead of air, the door is identical to the ones they've used for 20 years. Okay, so funny thing is, other than being electric instead of air. Oh, okay. I think I understand it, but I don't know enough to say it out loud. Electric instead of air. That's the door that you're talking about, the door that allows the passengers to get on, right? That's the traditional entry service door. So you can have it pneumatically driven, or you can have an electric motor open it. So that would be a. I haven't seen the Bluebirds actually have fancy doors like that. Every Bluebird that I've helped work on, they're still using old school, like reach way over, grab the lever, and the door opens up, and then they just push it closed. But then again, when I was working on buses, those were all Class D districts. They didn't have the fancy stuff. Like if you were the kid sitting in the back seat They had the heater underneath you. You were the warmest one on the bus. We had a 10-minute overlap, but the day shift usually is yeah, see, that's bad management, dude. It's just bad management. I would always try to tell the managers, like, you don't have to try and militarize your garage, your workforce, but just a little bit of a roll call structure really does set the tone for everybody of a level of professionalism. We are just now kind of starting to pull the heads out of our asses with management overchange. We've had just a really really bad stint of managers for the last 2 years. They've just been floating in and floating out, and that's really hurt morale. And we've lost a couple of skilled people. And I've tried to tell them, I says, if to keep things together, if we just had roll call first thing in the morning before we let all the customers come in and collectively got everybody together, we get everybody on the same page. It just sets a tone of professionalism. And they were like, they'd always just say, no, that's a military thing. We don't need to do it. And I says, it's not a military thing. You're just asking people to show up to work on time for a 5 minute mustard. That's it. It's like, hey, we open up at 7 o'clock. We're gonna have a 5 minute meeting right at 7 o'clock on the main floor. And we're just gonna tell you how many appointments we have today. We're gonna tell you how many diag jobs we have today and where we need to set the lunch hours at. Takes 5 minutes to knock that out. And just that 5 minutes, you can set a tone of professionalism right there inside your garage. But no, they didn't. And what happens is people start straggling in and they get later and later and later. It got so bad that they just gave up and they said, we're going to make a second shift. There's going to be a shift that shows up at 6:30 in the morning to open up at 7. And then there's going to be a shift that shows up whenever they want, like at 8, 8:30. I was like, it's not the way to handle it, man. Flamingo. Yep. It's still dark and mysterious. The bull's gone. We went back recently. The bull's gone. Yes, and 3Ds, they retired the Mongolian grill. They're no longer doing that anymore. But the Mongolian grill that existed in the strip mall where the Target is at, they're still rocking and rolling. Speaking of shop standards, it seems the standard here is set by that number two guy. He always checks on my work. And when I ask why we do something a certain way, it's don't know. Lee says so. I don't care. Yeah, man, that's really just the signs of uh employees giving up that they're just turning in the I know technicians and mechanics, we don't work 9 to 5. I just say that as a generic way of like a day laborer. Like you just clock in and clock out. You don't care what the standard is. You showed up and you left on time. Because when you have a business that has to have high standards, but you do not have a way of enforcing standards or checking on standards, or let alone just continuity between the way things are repaired, and all you care about is making sure people clock in and clock out, uh, no, this is not a grocery store. At a grocery store, you're like, yeah, I care that people show up on time and they wear their uniform, they bag the groceries, and they don't put the deodorant next to the grapes. Is about the highest level of training that you can get. At a McDonald's, I need to make sure that you show up on time and you work an entire shift. But dude, like this is a skilled labor. There's a lot more than just being a 9 to 5er. There are those of us who are just putting their hearts and souls into our work. And it really annoys me that somebody would just be so petty to be offended by that. You took 10 extra minutes to do a job. I've had people I've in the past, I've had other people who just criticize me, advisors for that. Yeah, I could just give this job to so and so. He gets it done 30 minutes faster. I know, but so and so doesn't clean up when he's done. So and so doesn't do the task 110%. It doesn't matter. I need the job in, job out. Man, I hated that advisor so much because if you didn't get it done lickety split, he just wouldn't dispatch to you. I hated him for that. So he found his little monkey boy, and I was warning that lad. I says, I've worked with advisors like this. Advisors, they find somebody that they can manipulate and they make them work faster and faster and faster to the point to where you start screwing up or you start cutting corners. Says that's dangerous because at the end of the day, it's your work. It's not his work. And you're going to get fired and he won't because no one is ever going to believe that the mechanic was manipulated so much to uh, to cut corners, to not do the job correctly. But I've seen it so many times, especially in a dealership. Hey, this is the customer's first oil change. We don't need to rotate tires. Just drop the oil, get it out. Like, no, it's a paid service. You will rotate tires and you will change oil. No, 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 no. I just got to get them in and out. It's all about the survey. Well, find somebody else to manipulate. And they find that person to manipulate. And guess what? That customer is an asshole and they like to chalk their tires. And the first thing they do is they go to the manager and they say, my tires rotated. Guess who gets written up first? Technician. Do they even bother asking for an explanation? Most of the time, no. And if the technician says, well, I was told not to rotate tires, manager goes, I don't see it on a work order. It says oil change rotate. That's what it says. You don't know how to read work orders? They're not going to talk to an advisor. An advisor can commit murder. All right. And I try to preach that to the young lads so many times. You like the flamingo. I don't blame you, bro. Everybody knows the owner. There's 50 people in the town. Everybody knows each other, man. Everybody knows everybody. Everybody's dated the same stripper. Dude, that place is a piece of its own. And as much as people say they hate that place, I know a lot of people, myself included, that are actually really happy to go back and visit because there's just a lot of really shitty memories that are funny to talk about. Like you don't get the same amount of shitty memories uh, in a big place like Austin or Dallas or Houston. You don't get shitty memories like that. I was like, only in a little backwood town like Great Falls, Montana, will you get some of the best memories of your life. And you might hate those years that you were living developing those memories, but you will talk about that place more than any other place in the world. It's just weird how it works like that. Transit bus. Okay, cool. I thought we were talking about like school buses and stuff like that. Ooh. I know. I was like, I've really actually thought about kind of moving to like if I retire out of this shop that I'm in right now, I've actually started reading up on a lot of transit buses, city buses, and looking at the pay for that because I'm kind of liking I'm kind of liking the people that are there. Like they're really crafty people. And you still get to do a lot of old school stuff like fix things and machine things and weld things. And I like to gravitate towards that on my automotive repair. I really do like heating things up, working them back straight, or welding things, cutting things out, putting things in. But it's kind of like a select niche. And unfortunately, a lot of that is going away even with the new buses that are coming out too. I've been hanging out with some other people on other channels who do a lot of bus repair. And they've been telling me that some of the new 2024 stuff coming out, they're not able to do the same things that they used to do anymore because so many things are under warranty now. So they have to like change out entire assemblies instead of actually just kind of cutting out chunks of it and straightening it and putting it back together. Kind of like how you see those uh, those short videos of all those Indian guys like rebuilding alternators and stuff like that. And people go, "Why don't we do this anymore?" I'm like, do you see the work environment that we're in? I was like, they're breathing asbestos. That's why we don't do that in a shop anymore. We're a union, so management has a tough time. Our new supervisor is just a fantastic guy, though. That's good, man. Always let him. If you always got a supervisor who's got a smile on his face and doing the right thing, you gotta let him know. So we like working for him, and he says if he needs something, we'll get her done. That's fantastic. Whenever you get somebody who's got the energy like that, and they're in a management position, always tell the people around me, like, don't burn this guy out, because that's how we get bad managers. Bad managers are burnt out people who are just constantly getting yelled at for problems in their shop, but they're so busy with trying to keep up with paper trails and emails and phone calls from upper management that they don't have time to go out into the shop and actually talk to their people and say, yo, this is going on. Or maybe they're too embarrassed. They get this mentality of, oh, I can't let people know I'm getting yelled at. Fuck no, dude. If you get your ass chewed out by by the next manager up, a director or something like that, then you have a roll call and you go tell people like, yo, hey, we got some things around the shop that are not looking good. We got to address them. Here are the talking points. I just spent like an hour getting my ass chewed out. And what he has to emphasize out of that is, hey, like every minute I spend with upper management is an hour that I can't spend here in the shop. And he has to explain like that transition that he has to explain that kind of like universe when you're a manager, because I've been in that upper level management. Every minute you're with your hierarchies, you're losing an hour in the shop. That is how much bullshit there is. So if I spend an hour and a half, that's 90 minutes with upper management and meetings and paperwork. That's 90 hours worth of attention I can't spend in my shop because I got to catch up on all the backlog that I've missed on the shop. And that's backlog per person, per incident, per advisor. So it needs to be emphasized that my job, my butt needs to stay in this chair. And I need to work as a buffer between customers, technicians, higher ups, and technicians. It's like you guys need to keep me out of trouble as much as possible by following the rules and following the standards. And if you see something, say something. It's kind of always been, I've had two things that I've pushed, and there's deep meanings to all of them. But the first one is if you see something, say something. And as soon as one guy says, "Oh, that's just being a snitch," I do everything I can to get rid of that fucking person. Hate me for what that is, but as soon as somebody starts spreading that word snitch, it changes the mentality of everything. This isn't prison, this is a job. If you see something that's gonna get somebody hurt, say something. If you see somebody cutting corners, say something. Now, I always had an anonymous way of dropping those little messages like, okay, we I had an is like an amnesty box. All right. So if you found a part on the ground that was brand new, hey, you could just put it in the amnesty box. I'll take care of it. You don't have to say what car it came from. You know, if there was something that just was wrong in the shop, you could leave a message in there. There's a lid on everything. Nobody can get into it but me. The other thing is, I would tell people is, and again, this is deep meaning. If you don't have a solution and you don't have a problem, what that means is don't come up to me burdening me with your onesie twosie problems that you can figure out on your own. If you got a problem that's happening around you, you see a problem and there's a solution to it, but you need my assistance or you need my authority to initiate getting it fixed, I can help with you on that. But if you just come in and be like, dude, this day sucks, like therapy is fucking expensive, dude. And I'm $1,000 an hour. I can recommend somebody cheaper. Um, that door is always open, talk that managers always say, like, "My door is always open, come in and talk." Like, always gets so far. Like, I'll give you, like, 5 minutes of bitch fest where you can just kinda vent your frustration, but you need to kinda go back to work. Um, but I always try to emphasize, uh, to reduce the level of people with bitchiness, and this is where a lot of garages do not do this, and I think nope, I've never been in a garage that would do it. Every 6 months, you need to sit down with every one of your employees. Just schedule it. Say, "Hey, this day, we're gonna spend 30 minutes and we're gonna talk." It's not gonna be a negative or a positive talk, it's just gonna be a talk. "How's it going? I see you clocking in on time, that's great." Or you had a couple of weeks where you straggled in. What was happening? You okay? That little bit of conversation with somebody brings out a wealth of information, and it builds trust. Now, I'm not trying to be a parent with them, but that's just part of being an employer and part of being a manager is just talking to somebody and knowing that every 6 months, you're just gonna give them a review. A lot of people don't know they're doing a bad job until you start telling them they're doing a bad job. And there's nothing worse than letting somebody do a bad job for 5 fucking years and then dumping it on them all at once and being like, "By the way, you're fired." That'll make somebody so pissed off. That's not fair. Show progression. It's like 6-month review. Hey, last time we talked, we showed that we had some negative trends here. You straggle in, you have habits of straggling in a lot, taking too long to get jobs done. You took 7 days to get this one head gasket job done, should have taken 3. We brought this up a few times. It's like we're not going to let you do engines anymore. You can focus on other tasks. That might piss somebody off, but that's what you have to do as a manager is be like, I can't have somebody in a loaner car that costs me $65 a day. You got to show them how the money gets spent. A lot of people don't see that. And that's a failure of management is not educating your technicians, your mechanics, and your other employees how the money in the company gets spent. It's kind of like how mom and dad should. I always emphasize a good thing to raise a child, even though I'm not a parent. And I know parents hate this when non-parents give advice, but this is good advice. When I was 7 years old, that's when the umbilical cord got cut for Easter, Santa, like the cold turkey. They were like, "Yo, like this shit isn't real. We're not playing this game anymore." I kind of already knew this stuff was fantasy land, but I was like, "Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm gonna stop pretending too." And then they busted out the checkbook and they started showing like, "This is called money. This is how money gets spent. This is how much money comes in." And for about 2 weeks, my parents were including me into writing bills, going to the bank. It was a big wake up call as a child, yeah, but I appreciated it as an adult because as I watched people in their 20s and their 30s struggle with simple things like paying an internet bill, I didn't. And those are fundamental things, just like walking and saying, "Yes, ma'am," "Yes, sir," as a child. Okay, beating up dead horse. Communication is key. Yes, yes, yes. Just began watching your videos and have been bringing your attitude to my shop. Hey, thanks, man. Customers seem happier with my work, but coworkers management think I'm taking too long. You know what? That's you're gonna run into that. And you kind of put me on the spot with how to kind of answer this, but I got a solution for it. So it's kind of open-ended. And here's how I would present it. So you have your labor guy, okay? And I'm going to assume that your flag where oil changes are paid point 0.3, point 0.4, rotations are point 0.3, point 0.4, tune-ups, if it's a Honda, it's like 1.1 hours, stuff like that. Okay. So you get what I'm doing there. You have to take that time and you have to use that as your baseline. So if they come at you and they say, "Hey, we brought in this Honda and you took an hour and a half to do the tune-up." You will let them know. Okay, well, I'm very sorry that I didn't meet your standards or something like that. Try not to sound like a dick when you say it. But use your facts. Let them know, like, well, this is that job does pay an hour and a half. And when that ticket was handed to me, it was 30 minutes after write up. I was like, and this is this next part is where you have to have the correct persona, the correct phrasing of saying this, and know where you stand in the shop. Okay. If you are a disposable employee, watch your P's and Q's. I say that. But if you call them out and say, hey, it's like this ticket showed up 30 minutes after write up to my toolbox, and this is an hour and a half job, and I still got it done in an hour and a half, like making up for your white space is not my responsibility. Like I had to take the whole hour and a half to get it done and do it correctly. And that includes and doing it by the service manual. I was like, if you don't want me to do it by the service manual, then you have to write down a way of me doing it wrong. Like make their job hard by asking them for cold hard facts. And in those situations, I actually document them too. And again, like I said, know where you're at because a lot of states, including my own Texas, we this is a right to work state. Right to work means that they can just fire at will, and there's no unemployment. Whatever unemployment there is, you're gonna have to get a lawyer to get it. And don't be scared about that information, but do document those accounts, and you can keep those accounts anywhere, like on your phone. Like, okay, you got that little notepad app. Hey, on this date at this time on this work order, I was talked to about taking 20 minutes too long, when I actually took an hour. A little quick little briefs, so that way if they do decide, be like, "Hey, like, this is your last day," and you ask why, well, whatever reason, you can actually use that with unemployment and say, "I wanna collect unemployment. It's gonna take about 2 weeks of process." They're gonna come back and they're going to say it was either denied or not. And that's when you can get an employment lawyer and show them, be like, well, they've talked to me on this many times, and they're saying that I was a horrible employee for these things. It's a way of calling them out on their bullshit. But most of the time, that's like an extreme situation in a really, really shitty shop. But in your situation, um, get better. Just how I would say is if you're if you're going to get to that point where you're going to take as much time as you do, make sure you're documenting everything that you do on the work order. So if you're doing a tune up and you have access to a throttle body, you do a throttle body wipe while you're in there. Put it on the work order. Okay, list everything that you do. Now that can take a long time to type out sometimes. Well, I actually have a Word document. Okay, I have a Word document, um, pre-drafted with a lot of things like a tune up, a brake flush, an oil change, tire rotation. All you got to do is copy and paste this stuff in on the work order program. Okay, we use a program called CDK. There's some other work order programs that are out there, but that's what I use. Now, if you use a common computer, like if you're sharing amongst other people and you're afraid they're going to dick around with your document, move it, delete it, whatnot, then put it on a thumb drive. Okay, put the thumb drive on your keychain. So, and if you got your keys, I know a lot of guys like to wear their keys on their hip all the time. So you just walk up, put the thumb drive in, open up your document, do your work order thing. Hey, I did a tune up, copy and paste, did an oil change, copy and paste, everything that you're doing. And it's like, and even for oil changes, I'll say like drained oil, added this much oil, cleaned off the drain plug, wiped around the oil filter. Uh, but yeah, it's that little attention to detail that can be frustrating for employers. But when you start documenting it on work orders, they lose the fight. They lose the fight really fast once things are black and white. They cannot fight black and white, but they can forget about conversations and they can forget about things they said. So I've been very diligent along my career path about keeping a breadcrumb trail of instances of interactions with upper and lower management. and I've only had to use that twice in the last 10 years. And those, even as much confidence as I talk, those were extremely scary moments. There was times where I just checked out early because I was 100% sure that that was my last day. But then I came back the next day and they didn't say anything. And the next day, they just kind of were like, what the hell was that? And I says, well, that's just me doing 110%. Like, you want me to do 90%? Go ahead. Okay. Well, can you take 5 minutes off? So it's a give a little, take a little thing. If anybody's got any other suggestions to that, please chime in because that is a tough thing to kind of talk about on a channel in a one-way conversation. It really needs some more examples, like what's going on. It can also be really tough with diagnostics. But yeah, if you're taking the full amount of time that a job is rated for, be very detailed about what you're doing then. So that way it's on paper. I think that's how I'm gonna sum it up. But I support you, man. And it's a tough thing to do. Oh yeah, here's the last thing that I did to really speed it up is I got one of those little Harbor Freight little $150 service carts, and I bought a bunch of cheapy little tools like quarter-inch sockets, a bunch of Harbor Freight stuff in there. Okay, that's my tune-up kit. So whenever I got gravy work to do, I just grab that thing, and that is separate from all my main heavy line tools, and all those gravy tools stay in the gravy cart. So I can do the gravy jobs anywhere in the shop, or if just one spontaneously happens, boom, I'm there. I know all my gravy tools are there. And you know what? If a gravy tool gets lost, who cares? A Harbor Freight quarter-inch socket, man, I get a full set for $5. Oh yeah, Shopcat's talking to McDonald. They come around when they have fewer comebacks. Yep, I'm losing my voice already. Oh, monkey. Yeah, dude, that's why I left my other 3 companies after I retired. I will never work for another corporate type shop again. I feel it, that's kinda how I felt when I left the military, is I didn't realize how manipulated I was. Either I'm opening my own shop one day or I'm working for my mom and pop shop. I'm glad you got connections like that. And it's like that's my ultimate goal, um, is to get enough savings to where I can make that leap of faith and get my own shop. But I've hired an accountant to kind of do some financial counseling with to learn about the Texas realty market and land ownership, site surveys, uh, getting the gist of realtors, like everything, like the real big picture of getting into a shop, and that's building a shop from scratch, that's getting into somebody else's shop, taking over somebody else's problems. It's scary, dude. It's like buying 3 houses, and, there's a lot of realtors that are selling garage properties, and they look super affordable, like 300, $400,000, but then, once you get the paperwork from the city and you find out how many uh, grievances from the city that property has, from contaminated soil to poor drainage, like oil runoff from the shop. Um, you're responsible. You pick all that up because in Texas, the realty market, it allows one of two things to happen on a transaction. You as the owner can choose to discount your property and offload all the problems to the new owner. So that means that this shop that I was looking at, it could technically be worth $750,000, but because he has all these problems with drainage and he has problems with contaminated soil from the oil dumpsters leaking, he discounts it, and the buyer, there's an actual statement there, like, I would have to sign saying, like, "I acknowledge that I'm taking over this problem. I acknowledge I'm taking over this problem," which is, by all means, could be an okay thing if the city does not want to enforce that. But if the city or the state decides, "Hey, we're gonna enforce this standard now. You need to clean up your act, Joe. By the way, you just bought this property, and it's a $300,000 fix." I don't got that money. And that's where the accountant was saying this is why there's a lot of abandoned auto shops is because um the the state and the city is on the fence of actual enforcing these standards. And if these property owners do if these standards do get enforced with these property owners who are trying to sell these abandoned garages, they're just going to have to file bankruptcy and the city's going to repo the property and the city's going to be stuck with the bill. And they're talking about how already in my local city that there's somewhere on the average of like $700 million worth of waste cleanup at these garages all across the county. Like this is a countywide. Like they're saying that there's just so much damage from decades and decades and decades of poor waste management. Oil just leaking into the ground. They cherry picked a few stories of where they said one location they're going to have to take like the top foot of soil off. It's just trash. There's nothing they can do about it. Some places don't have a slab, and so that's one requirement that they're talking about. Like all buildings have to have a concrete slab. Takes a long time to prove it. I work for a rental retail outfit owned by ex auto shop owner. When he stopped having to haul replacement, ergo 6 hours away, he got it. Yeah, dude, that's what it takes. Is it usually takes an empty bank account to prove it to somebody. I don't know what that fight's about. Working at a corporate tire shop, started off good, coming from Quick Lube, but boy, I'm seeing why we have high turnover. Oh, Barrow? You work for Barrow? Yeah. Breakstone Auto, Firestone, Michelin. I think Pet Boys used to be a jerk too, but being a jerk is what got them bankrupt. I think Pet Boys have been getting replaced by AutoZone now. Like, yeah, yeah, I get it, man. It's just there's too many there's too many corporate fat cats that think that automotive repair is a quick money maker. And while it might be a quick money maker for a year, like in the long term wise, it's horrible. It's like trying to make income off of scratcher lotto tickets. At some point, you just don't break even anymore. And um, yeah, at those places that you're talking about right there, they're literally it's very, very rare that I actually do see anybody who's lasted longer than 5 years because eventually they just get fed up with the work conditions. They get fed up with always working with rookies, always fixing rookie mistakes without getting compensated. Like, if you're gonna be the fix it guy who fixes everybody else's mistakes, then that's an ideal time to start relocating. I've talked to many other people who have worked in Pet Boys, Michelin, Firestone, and other like garage base like that. Like the hours are long, the hours are tough. You're working 7 days. They're open 7 days a week. So if you work 7 days a week, they'll work you 7 days a week. And they're all about high turnover. They don't want anything staying overnight at all. One guy was working at was it a Midas or a Firestone? One of those two. But he would just say that whenever a car had to stay overnight for repairs, He says the manager would just have an absolute hissy fit. He's just the guy. He's like the guy would just have kittens, just stupid about nothing. Like, well, you just sold 20 hours worth of work. You sold a guy brakes, rotors, four struts, tires, uh, engine mounts, a tune up, a brake flush. So it's like, how are you expecting to get 20 hours worth of work done when there's only 3 hours before close? Of course, it's going to stay overnight. Like, so yeah, that's kind of where you have to, when you start moving around shops, you got to interview a lot of shops and ask questions to your new employer. Um, Ask about your career path. That's what I like to talk about to people getting into the automotive industry is if you're headhunting for a new shop, if you're rookie of the year, or maybe just wet behind the ears on everything, that's fine. But tell them what your ambitions are, what your goals are. Emphasize that this is a career choice for you. You know, you're all in, but you would like to know what career opportunities were available here. You can, I would even go as far as like if you're making really good progress on your interview, is you can ask, be like, so who's the longest working technician that you have right now on staff? And if they got a seven or if they got someone who's been with the company 7 or 10 years and still turning wrenches, that's a really good sign. But if it's 1 or 2 years, that's kind of sketchy, man. You might want to find more information out about that place. Like, did they just have a big walkout? Did they just have a new manager? Uh, I've seen there's been instances in other shops where, yeah, like a group of people quit and went to the oil field because the oil field just hired. So that's understandable. You're naturally going to lose a whole bunch of people. So you got a bunch of fresh dudes. When you're talking about career path, asking them about like what kind of training opportunities do they have? Do they send you to training? How often do you go to training? How do you earn more training opportunities? Whether that training is online virtually, is it on site? Do they send you to a class? So on and so forth. If he gives you very generic answers or is just kind of blindsided by it, I would walk away because a place that isn't wanting to invest in your knowledge is a scary place to be. If he just says, "Oh, you got these other guys over here. They're going to show you everything." No, that's called a telephone game. And we did that in kindergarten as an example of how people screw stuff up. If you don't know what the telephone game is, the telephone game is where you get all the kids in a circle and the teacher whispers in one student's ear and tells them a message, simple message. You could say the quick brown fox jumped over the lazy dog. And that kid's job is to whisper it to the next person and the next person, and it goes all the way around the circle. And then it comes back to the teacher, and the teacher says, a dog jumped over a fox. And you see how the message gets screwed up is maybe somebody hears it wrong and then they try to put it together right, and they're feeling the anxiety of passing the message along, so they just add words or they take words away. That's just that's called human error. And good management needs to recognize that that's where your problems are, is somebody doesn't hear it correctly, somebody doesn't comprehend it, and somebody doesn't recite it correctly. That's why it's really important to write things down. Because if you write something down, then it can't be transcribed incorrectly unless you're switching languages. But the telephone game is a horrible problem in automotive. Everybody wants to have these face to face conversations and not document the situation that happens. I'm a big documenter. I've learned, I've learned the hard way. You cannot trust people to remember conversations correctly. So, yeah, I document a lot of things, and I picked up that trait from military. In military, we were very, very big about documenting everything for historical reference. If you had a conversation with a supervisor, the supervisor would actually dictate the entire conversation and both parties would sign it because maybe a month later, now the trainee doesn't feel right about that conversation and he wants to act upon it and he goes to legal counsel or maybe he goes to another supervisor in another shop because we have those advocate agencies where you can um, seek counseling and make sure that everything was done correctly. It's not a not to be confused with like a whistleblower thing. That is where you definitely know something's wrong. But this is a situation where you just feel confused and you need outside guidance. And that third party would go over the situation and say, "Oh, it sounds like everything was done correctly. I see this paperwork that you presented to me of your conversation. It sounds like you've been just thinking about this to yourself so many times you've gotten yourself confused on it." Which I was guilty of myself a lot. You know, you're a young lad coming up in a workforce full of a lot of adults that are enforcing a lot of high standards on you. I mean, like stuff that I thought 30-year-olds and 40-year-olds were responsible for, and now you're asking a 19-year-old to do it. Like kind of a wake up call for your brain. So I had a lot of conversations with counselors, just really trying to figure out like what just happened because sometimes it can take a couple of weeks for a counseling session to kind of really sink into your brain and you kind of go, oh, that was a polite way of telling me I fucked up. Shit. Okay, McDonald. Thankfully, I'm getting more into the repair aspects of cars beyond just tires. Yes, that is where the money's made, sir. Oil changes and tire rotations, those are loss leaders for a shop. Shops break even on those services, they very rarely make money. The only time they make money is when they have a guy working $12 an hour doing oil changes and tire rotations. The money is made on big services, tune ups, flushes, and heavy line repair. There's also a lot of good money in diagnostics and just understanding basic, basic electronic principles and basic engine theory goes a long way. You'd be astonished at how many people do not understand the basics, and I am one of those guilty people. I thought I was a hero at diagnostics, but then I actually started going to an accredited school who teaches automotive theory and diagnostics, and I was like, "I'm ready for 103. I'm an ASE master tech." He's like, "Dude, that don't mean shit." He says, "You can take this CLEP exam." And I looked at it, I go, "Where's the 101 class?" You can get in your head real easy that you're a champion. So I took that 101 class and I came out a million times better. I was so happy I took it. And even better is because I took the 101, I'm allowed to take a 101 rebrief every year for free as long as I keep taking it. If I miss a year, then I lose out on that opportunity. But it's like a 30-minute kind of flashcard refresh on what all the terminology is in the waveforms and uh, how the electrons move. It means a lot. It really does. It solidifies everything. A lot of people take their test equipment for granted. Now, they really don't understand how a digital multimeter measures resistance. You know, how is it measuring voltage? Like, what is your meter actually truly doing? What is the magic inside the box? And that 10 minutes of explanation, boom, it opens your mind up and it makes diagnostics so much easier. I built a Lab 3s for the CDN Army for 10 years. Manager could always hassle me. You're not done yet. These guys are ready for inspection. I bet mine would leave the bay first. Always one. Yeah. I see, and that's the one thing I love too about the military life is deep respect for your craftsmanship and your work. They always had good competitions between work centers and, making sure everything was tight, neat, and wrinkle free, making sure everybody knew their stuff. That was the life that was the part of the job that I really liked. And I would, if I didn't have to do the whole marching and guns and blowing stuff up anymore, and I could just work on stuff and then just do those work center competitions, I'd do that for free in a heartbeat. I miss that stuff. Yeah, nothing worse than going back in, bro. Quick wrench, then finally chiming in here. New rockers in. My new cam covers back on. Intake be on in few minutes, and I'm getting out of dude. Go do it. Take your break. Well deserved. Well deserved. Nothing like earning a break. I tell you that. And guys, I always say too, like if you take breaks or you take your lunches, I always emphasize to the people who work around me, says, like, try not to do it at your stall or your toolbox. Actually, walk out of the shop. If you have a break room, go sit in a break room. If not, try and find a spot just away from the action. Take that 5-10 minutes and just reset your body, reset your brain, because that's tough. I see people like they eat lunches at toolboxes. They drink their coffee. They do everything at their toolbox. And what I've kind of learned from the manager's perspective is that that one time they walk through the shop, okay, that one time they walk to the shop, they see you like, oh, that dude's working real good. That dude's we're working real good. That motherfucker. Every time I walk by, he's just leaning on his box drinking coffee. And that manager's too fucking dumb to realize what might be happening and walk over and actually talk to that person and find out that they just worked 6 hours straight and this is their first break since 6 a.m. He's just gonna think that in his head, go, I always see this dude leaning on this box. What a piece of shit. So to avoid those instances with those ignorant managers, I always tell people if there's a designated break area, go to the designated break area because at least if somebody walks by, they know that if you're in the break area, you're taking a break because you're not in your bay, you're not working, you're taking a break. And like I said, some managers are just so ignorant to those distinctions that you have to do that for their perspective on things. Never let somebody else, or how would I'm going to backtrack that a second. Uh, from a corporate standpoint, the one thing that corporate managers and just sometimes all managers in general are very guilty of doing, and I'm guilty of doing it. And trust me, I had to train myself out of this. And I think this was the weakest point in my life being a manager was don't let your perspective dictate how things are. If you see something and you think it's wrong, go talk to them. Find out the situation. I was really bad at that for a couple of years where I would just see something and I just assumed this is what it was. Come to find out that's not what it was. That guy was actually pissed off at me because was fixing one of my problems that I made. I had a comeback and he was so pissed off. And what I saw was actually him secretly getting mad at me. I didn't figure that out for a year. So here we at. No, no, I wasn't an officer. I topped out at E6, which is a technical sergeant for Air Force. 100% agree. If I'm effing up, tell me. I'm a big boy. I can take it. Yes. 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 Honesty. Honesty. And not everybody can take it the same way. I'll just say that. I'm glad Shot Cat, he's like, come up and tell me, be blunt. I don't got time for casual conversation. I'm the same way too. Um, and of course, us big guys, sometimes we forget that we asked for that treatment, and we get a little because we're tired and we've been working so long and we're hungry. Somebody comes a little blunt on us. We go, wait, 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 wait. And you got to remember, once you ask for that treatment, that shit'll bite you in the ass. So, uh, I am a I am cursed with the low blood sugar, so I always have to make sure that I keep some sort of like a granola bar on me, and I gotta have a little bite of it about every hour to keep going. I used to be able to do the one big meal a day, but not anymore. That crashes my mind and it makes me lightheaded. And whew, if somebody can catch me in a wrong spot, man, I've said some words that I regret. But yeah, guys, talk about each other's work, but know how the best way to start it out is anything that you come up with on a negative, try to give a compliment with it. And it sounds stupid, like, oh, this guy has nothing but negative stuff. No, if he has nothing but negative stuff and he has no positive stuff, then he would be gone. He's done something right. Like, hey, Billy, it's like, hey, man, yeah, dude, you've been showing up every day for work this week. Great, dude. Good job. Like, I love how you tackle tickets. You get through the work really good. Hey, we just got to talk about this last car. Looks like maybe you just went a little too fast on it. Uh, take that extra 2 seconds to actually clean up this oil mess you made. All right, before you jump on the next ticket. I know you're a hustler, but can you give me 2 extra seconds per ticket? That's how I've learned to handle it. And it gives that person that recognition of like, yeah, I'm trying to bust my ass. And usually people who work really hard and try and bust their ass, they're the most guilty of making the most honest mistakes, is because we get it stuck in our head that we're badasses. And it's hard to shake your own perspective on yourself. Monkey, Shopcat, and then a who different bureaucratic situation. If you're still in that situation, I hate bureaucracy, dude. Hey, new subscriber, what's going on? Thanks to the channel. Just wanted to thank you for your open discussion about quality service and integrity. Still salty about my shop foreman from my local Subaru cutting corners on work. Yeah, yeah, and you know what? There's a lot of shops that are actually just getting rid of the whole title of foreman because so many foremans have just worked their way into a cozy corner and they've become good for nothings, which is disappointing. But I also blamed the shop owner. I blamed the manufacturer, and I blame the service manager. I blame everybody who holds a titled position for actually not giving that foreman titles and responsibilities. There are a lot of people who were given foreman only because they were the seniority person there. And the shop just said, well, it's like, you've been here the longest, so I guess you're in charge of everybody. And that's a horrible way of doing it. If this offends you, I'm sorry, but my perspective on seniority is you've been doing the same job too damn long and nobody trusts you to do anything else. That's all seniority is to me. I can go to a grocery mart and say that that grocery bagger over there's been here 10 years. He's got seniority. Yeah, he's been bagging groceries for 10 years. Go to the Loop Tech. Oh, Loop Tech's been here 10 years doing tune ups and oil changes. He's got seniority. See how stupid it sounds when you put it in other perspective? So that's why I frown on the word seniority. Seniority is just something that gets utilized now just to kind of like one up somebody who is offended that somebody who's only been here less than them now has responsibilities and titles. But if you're gonna if you're gonna make somebody a foreman, you should honestly understand what a foreman should know, what a foreman's responsible for doing, and what you actually want them to do. And that should be listed out and signed in an agreement. And also that should be acknowledged to your shop employees. Like, today, we're recognizing this person as a foreman. We don't have to say he's been here for 10 years. We don't have to say, just be like, he's a foreman. He's got all the certifications that meet a foreman. His job responsibilities will be to handle exclusively comebacks. He will be doing diagnostics that take longer than a day to do. So if you have a diag job that's not getting done the same day, it's like he's going to come over and he's going to check in and make sure it's going on. Like, as a foreman, he's going to be overlooking every job that's been here longer than 3 days because we want jobs out in 7 days or less. Heavy line specifically. I'm talking about guys, not oil changes. But if you work in a mega shop, you know that some cars can loiter around for a little while, especially if it's a troublesome car, you're waiting on parts. But that that foreman needs to be the buffer between management and technician to a point to where the service manager, the general manager, the company owner can just walk in, sit the foreman down and tell the foreman, be like, I need you to tell me everything that's been going on and everything that's going to happen in the next 3 days. That's what a foreman should do. A foreman should be able to just spill his guts on everything. Be like, yep, this is what's been coming in. This is what we've been struggling with. This is what we're going to struggle with for the next 3 days. And here's the facts and what's going on. A foreman should not sit there in that office and go, well, you should talk to the tech. That's a shitty foreman. That's a foreman who doesn't know what the fuck is going on. Um, I tried, I tried doing the foreman thing, and they fired me from that position in about a month because they didn't want to handle it because I brought too many things to light. Because every day I was going through their work orders and I was pulling it up, and I would just sit down with the manager. I'd be like, "Here's the bill for today." And he's like, "What's this?" I says, "Well, that's every job from yesterday that rolled into today." And that's also on column 2 is every job that's been here more than 3 days, and column 3 is every job that's been here more than a week. And here's the explanations of what's going on. That's the roll call. I need you to sign it. He's like, "I'm not signing shit." I says, "No, you're going to sign it and you're going to acknowledge it that it's been here because when you try and throw me under the bus, I'm going to bust out this stack of paperwork showing how much that you've been ignorant to this problem." He didn't like any of that. But at the same time, I had to tell him, it's like, it's my job to keep you out of trouble. And that's how I presented that information was like, I don't want my service manager in trouble because if my service manager is in trouble, then he's too busy getting out of trouble to take care of the shop, to fund us. Like he's too busy trying to talk his way out between a rock and a hard place. So I emphasized to him, I was like, it's my job to keep you out of trouble, uh keep the managers off your phone. I need you handling customers. I need you training advisors. Let me handle the technicians. Let me handle the work order. Um, After a couple of weeks, he really just got tired of all this because he just saw how much shit was not getting done. I says, "Well, you got guys who are not trained." He's like, "Well, go show them." I says, "I can't show them." I was like, "You didn't hire me as a trainer. There's a difference between mentorship and training." It's like, "It's not my fault that you hired a lube tech to do diagnostics. I'm very sorry that he's your brother's son's cousin and that you're really good friends." I says, "But maybe you should have thought twice about giving that dude a $10 raise and letting him do diagnostics. So why don't we think about bumping him down to a tune-up tech instead?" He's like, "Well, I can't pay him as a tune-up tech." I was like, "That's your own problem, dude. I would have never signed off on this dude going to be a diagnostician." So yeah, 1 month, got myself fired, which I was happy with though, because they didn't want to go forward with anything. They didn't want to make the shop better. They were happy just bleeding out and getting a blood transfusion at the same time. We got new management now. That was old management. So I'm giving this new manager a shot and he's trying some tactics and I I can tell you from experience that whenever you get a new manager in, you get some new hires in, they always want to they call it shit things up and try it new. I mean, you got to give them you got to give them a break. Um try and support them on their ideas and encourage everybody to support them on their ideas because if everybody's against them from day one on new approach, then all they're going to do is be resentful of everybody else and say, well, this is all your guys' fault. You never gave this new approach a shot. So, as much as it hurts everybody to kind of be like, oh, we got to do something different. Yeah. Well, the only way to prove somebody wrong in their idea is sometimes to support it. So, hey, guy, we supported your idea for the last 3 weeks. It's gotten worse. Do you have some advice on to make your idea work better? And if his idea is to just keep doing it, then that's when you burn it into the ground. Oh, layoffs are never good, bro. Take your nap, bro. Wake up next year. Have a good day. Yes. Yeah, documentation is huge. Foreman went after, wait, documentation is huge. A foreman went after me here at the transit shop, but he didn't document anything, and I did. I printed my work order notes and emails daily. He got time off to think about it. Yeah. Uh, that goes with saying, if you're working flag, guys, keep a journal. My journal is actually just I actually used to keep a notebook, but the problem is the notebook kept moving around and getting lost and getting oil on it, or maybe getting thrown away accidentally. So I actually just switched over to using an Excel spreadsheet. Google Documents is free for your phones, so I just made a column and work order number, advisor number, and then line item of every problem. And you don't have to transcribe everything word for word, but you can be like diag, tune up, oil change. And if there was anything specific notes on there, I keep a specific note on there. So that way, if 2 months down the road, upper management wants to talk about that, like, hey, this dude left a Google review about us and about this car problem. Well, now I can actually be like, yeah, let me look at my note. Yeah, I do remember that. Okay, so that was a customer who scanned his own code. He came in here for a belt sensor. He wanted a timing belt. He wanted this is an actual situation right now. He went to an AutoZone. He got his car scanned, and it said code P0304 and or not a P0304, P0340. Yeah. Anyhow, it was a cam position sensor. And he says, like, yeah, I just want a cam position sensor put in my car. And I have a document here that the advisor actually talked him into diagnostics since that was a $800 repair. That sensor's buried behind a valve cover. And so you got to take the valve cover off. And the sensor's like $300. So he convinced them that paying a $150 diagnostic to prove that it needed a sensor was more valuable than just selling him the job, which I agreed with because I later stated that I diagnosed that the sensor was operating correctly, the ECM was doing a good job, the wiring harness was intact, but the gentleman actually needed a timing belt tensioner. See, he repaired his timing belt, but he didn't replace the tensioner. And I bore scoped the tensioner; it was full of oil. So he's got a loose belt on startup because the tensioner leaked out, and it throws a code intermittently. Now, this guy threw a fight with me. The customer did, claiming that he was a 10-year seasoned veteran with Chrysler and he knows everything, which, you know what? I think I know everything, so I don't blame him. But I had to tell him, I says, and this is a fun conversation to learn, is I told him, I says, well, sir, he was saying that if it was a belt problem, it should have thrown a cam crank correlation code. And I congratulated him on knowing that. I says, yes, you're right. But unfortunately, this engine with two banks and two cams only has one cam sensor, which means that it's averaging. So there is no cam crank correlation code. The computer is not programmed to throw a code like that. It's not even in the list of diagnostic trouble codes. So the programming defaults to that sensor. So from there, you would use your engine theory and diagnostic skills, and you would scope the sensor, and you would actually see that your cam signal and your crank signal are wandering up to 5 milliseconds apart, which is almost 5 degrees. And then that's when he got like, what the fuck? And I showed him everything, but he was still pissed off because he had just paid for a timing belt, but no one told him he needed a tensioner. And I says, well, dude, if you come in here and you say you want a timing belt, they're going to give you a timing belt. And I was like, and I'm very sorry. It just went to a tune-up tech who wasn't trained specifically on your 15-year-old car. Because I says that is sometimes what happens a lot of the times. You drive a manufactured car, you drive a Subaru, let's say this example. He's like, you drive a Subaru, but you're driving a 15-year-old Subaru. These guys are only relevant on the last 5 years of information. It's very rare that you're going to find somebody who knows the lineage of the brand, like me. And I pointed to another master technician. I says, we've been with the brand since 2005. So we know this. We know to look for a belt tensioner. If not, just say, you're getting a belt tensioner or I'm not putting a damn belt on there. I mean, guys who have been working with timing belts, like we grew up on that. Like, don't do a belt if you're not doing a tensioner because you don't want the comeback. It'll come back. It'll come back within a year at the latest. And that's kind of what had happened to this guy. He came in, he wanted a belt. The kid didn't know any better. So he stabbed a belt on there. He says, hey, job's done. Car comes back about 5,000 miles later, which is about a year for him. He's got problems. And then he's pissed off that we got to spend another 3 hours of labor to go back into the timing belt and replace a belt tensioner. I try to convince, hey, what's up, Mickey? Yeah, I told the shop, I said, I think that if he bought the belt from us, the best thing we can do is tell the customer, hey, buy the tensioner. And I was like, I'll put it in there for half the labor rate, but not free. Currently working at Goodyear Automotive. I thought so. Pros and cons to it. Current big con is we can't be clocked in for more than 32 hours. What? You can't work more than 32 hours in a week? That don't make sense. Yeah, so workforce management, a lot of states have governing workforce that says that for hourly employees, you have to manage their their clock in, clock out time, and you have to make sure that they clock out for lunches. Because if there was an accident in the shop, which there always is in a garage, but let's take this for example. Let's say you clock in at 7 o'clock in the morning, and at 1 o'clock, um, you you drop something on your foot, okay, and your foot hurts so bad that you're like, okay, I got to go to urgent care and get this looked at because I've been trying to walk it off for 30 minutes and it's getting worse, boss. Okay, you go to urgent care. Okay, now you got a broken bone. All right, so now your foot's in a cast. Who pays for that? Well, that's the company insurance. They're going to pay your medical bill. Well, before they do that, they're going to investigate the situation. And the first thing they're going to look at is your clock hour. One, were you on the clock? Because if you get hurt in the garage and you're not punched in, they can deny everything. They can say, well, he wasn't clocked in. And it doesn't even matter if you're on the schedule. They're that shady. They can just be like, motherfucker wasn't clocked in. I'm not paying the claim. So either the shop pays the claim or this dude's personal insurance pays the claim. One of the two. I don't care. Now, could you sue them and then get them to settle? Hell yeah, they will. But they'll wait for you to waste your money for a lawsuit. So guys, clock in. Um, and then the next, if you are clocked in, then they're going to say, well, this dude's been working 5 hours straight and he's supposed to work a whole day today. Why didn't he clock out for a break? Now that's going to look bad on the employer. Okay, the boss is now going to get yelled at for finding out that it's like, hey, McDonald, you didn't take a break. He's like, well, I was working all day. Like, no, you have to take a break. So that was one of the things when I was in charge of managing the hourly people was making sure that if they worked a full day, they had to clock out for a break. And I did kick them off the floor. because I actually was one of those good people who actually did read the workforce labor laws and saw how fucked up you could get as an employer. So, yeah, you tell them to go punch out, tell them to get off the floor, stop working, or wrap up that job and then go punch out. But guys, if you got hourly people and they're not taking a documented scheduled break, dude, litigation can mess you up. They can take your company insurance and run with it so bad. And I did some googling and I found some really really horrific stories of where um, it wasn't the individual who got hurt who did this. It was the individual's lawyer who did this because the lawyer, once he got hired, he took the case and was like, "Hey, like whatever happens, I'm only going to take 30% of the claim." That dude wants to take as big a chunk of claim as possible. And he was very happy to put his entire firm on the case once he found out that this was a multi-million dollar franchise. He's like, "Oh, this guy owns like 8 garages. He's worth so much money. Hell yeah, I'm putting every one of my lawyers on here." And they pulled that guy's clock in, clock out times. And they're like, "This dude's never given a break." It's like they just work him to the better end. And that's what they proved in trial. I was like, and this company tried to settle so hard. Like they were like $100,000 settlement, $200,000 settlement. They could not get this lawyer to settle. And once they got through court, it became a non-disclosed settlement, which probably means that it was very close to $1 million settlement. So yeah, if you're a company owner and you got hourly people, make sure that they are taking scheduled breaks. Make sure that they're clocking out for their breaks. It seems like an annoyance, but that one time when you can't buy insurance anymore, you're fucked. Hey, Riching Mafia, long time no talk. Yeah, people who are flat rate get burned out really fast. Everybody say hi to Mafia. We haven't seen this cat in a while. We've seen this cat, not this cat. Yeah, everyone's working Saturday. I feel bad that I'm not working Saturday, but they purposely locked the doors on me so I can't even go in and do anything, which is good because Mafia, I tell you what, I've been sleeping for like the last 20 hours. I could before this stream, I had already had like 2 cups of coffee and fell back asleep. I had to push the stream back another hour and then I had to go to the corner store and get an energy drink to wake up. I just did not realize just how exhausted I was. Ooh, yeah. He's got the royal Christmas treatment there. 4 days off. I hope it's PTO, man. You got pay time off? Or did they just lock the doors and kick you to the curb? I have no interest in cars, but somehow this live was advised to be so high. Well, thanks for stopping in, Mr. Lucky Bastard. You know, we don't always talk about cars. Sometimes we talk about our shop life. Sometimes we talk about customers. So if you're an automotive customer and you have some questions about like what goes on behind the doors at a shop or why things don't get done a certain way, you have a lot of people here who can honestly answer that. My last shift this week, then 3 days off, paid for 2 of them. It's gonna be yeah, dude, I'm looking forward to it myself. The theory of promotion is first fail. The the theory of promotion to first fail. You do a good job, A, promoted to B, good at a job B, promoted to C, then you're beyond your abilities and suck, and you're stuck. Oh, okay. A Tech, B Tech, C Tech. Got it. Yes. Yeah. There's nothing worse than failing upwards too. I hate it when management fails somebody upwards. We had a couple advisors that were failed upward. We had a we had a girl who was receptionist and she was a bad receptionist, so they failed her upward to an advisor. So they made her in charge of Express. And she got in a fight with an employee. She had really bad scores. And she got in a fight with a customer and hung up on customers. So they were like, damn, this bitch is hard. We should make her run a team. So they gave her a heavy line team. 3 techs quit, and she still had a job. But there was something fishy happened behind the signs with her. Also, I predicted in the announcement a week ago, I know I'm late. Did I miss the award announcement? Oh, you know what? No problems for being late. Anybody who did chime in that short and is here, I will be helping them out with their 1 month membership. I will get them queued up. I was really hoping Fluffy was going to help me with that delivery because trying to sign people up he told me I could only sign people up through a live. I'd have to gift them out to people. Oh, maybe. Hang on a sec. I think I got this. I got this. I think the idea just happened. Holy shit! There it is, CP. What's up, CP? Are you hiding at the bottom? I got to make sure to ban you from my chat. I got to set the record straight. No, I don't do that. I did find out what happened though. I looked at the recording and my keyboard it did like an auto correction on a word and it made it a I don't know, it like auto corrected something to like not like a curse word or something, but I think that's what triggered it and it just put me into a default 1 hour ban for using a pre-filtered word. Okay, I have to go to the video. All right, I already did it wrong. Got to go to my channel. Go to the channel. View the channel. There's the live. Click on the live. Make sure I mute it so I don't hear the feedback. And now I have options. I got moderation, participants, timestamps, pop chat, send feedback. There's the money symbol. Membership gifting. There we go. All right. So CP, if I click on the gift the membership thing, then people just click on that. How does that get disseminated to people? Because I can throw 10 memberships up in the chat, but it doesn't allow me to pick who they go to. I think I'm gonna have to take some IOUs on that one, man, and see if he replied. Yeah, I got through. Yeah, yeah. It was just I have more fun just making fun of the situation than I do than anything, man. Yeah, YouTube just rejected the first super chat. Schmidt, can't they? Yeah. Yeah, we actually found out CP. We got a couple of guys in here who've been in some old towns that I've been in. So we've been talking about some bars, and I'm going to be going up to Michigan to see some people. We got some people here from Brigstone Firestone, talking to them. A lot of people are getting off for a few days. They got some PTO coming through. I think this is where we left off. Okay. Also, I participated in the announcement a week ago. Yes. Okay. Well, Ray, there's CP got your membership, man. So I think all you got to do is click on that green sticky up at the top, and that should be it. Yeah. And CP, I trust you enough that I will promote you to a manager on the channel. So if you see anything and want to help out with anything, you can. Because I got Fluffy and I got JT on that too. Kind of helps out when everybody starts talking and they got questions or I got to move some things around. But Ray, I got you on the IOU. So if that don't come around, then I will figure it out personally. Don't worry. Yeah, it's I think that's why a lot of Ray, that's why a lot of shops are just kind of getting away with the the foremanship thing is um those people in that position, they get super entitled, or maybe they failed upward into that position and they just they don't have the charisma for the job. And it's like as a as a foreman, you shouldn't be burdened with the responsibility of having to know everything. A foreman, half the foreman job is just trying to keep the peace. And because, dude, every technician's got attitude. Like we're all Madonnas, man. Like whether we admit it or not. I was like, I can be a sourpuss sometimes, and I can be the greatest guy in the world sometimes. You guys only see the good side of me on cameras, but I've had some dark days. Okay, I recognize it. I've had some dark days. Uh, a foreman is like me every day that you see me on camera. He's got to be bright. He's got to be chipper. He's got to be happy. He's got to keep everybody in that mood. Unfortunately, management does not give a shit about that. And all they want him to do is just crunch the numbers and push people to their break point, to the point to where that foreman just says, "I don't give a shit. This job doesn't pay me to do that, and I'm bouncing." And that's sad. That's really sad because what a company needs to understand is that little bit of money that they pay to have somebody just be the morale keeper can bring up production in the shop 50%. So if I find a technician and I say, "Hey, technician," is like, dude, is like, "You got your manufacturer certification, you got your ASC certifications, you really show that you know what you're doing, and you got fantastic charisma. I see you get along with everybody in the shop. Um, I'm gonna put you I'm gonna put you on a 30-hour guarantee, and I need you to spend at least half your day keeping these guys working because I need everybody in the shop making their 50 hours a week minimum. If you help everybody make their 50s, then I'm going to give you a piece of profits." But at the same time, that that foreman still has to wrench, still got to figure out some diags. So you tell them like, okay, I only want you working on like the stuff that stays here like 1 or 2 days, the stuff that you have to work with the field service engineers with, the tech line stuff. Just get these guys working on in and out stuff. Okay. So that shop is now committed to probably $100,000 salary into this person. Now, a fat cat might go, "What a waste of money." A service manager needs to advocate and say, "Yeah, but that 100,000 that I'm paying this guy, he's now going to get me another quarter million out of the rest of my shop. Why? Because he's gonna be my expediter, right? He's gonna be making sure the right work gets to the right people. He's gonna reduce my comebacks, and that is the hardest thing that a shop doesn't see, especially at a corporate level. A shop at the corporate level, they don't see the amount of money they lose on a comeback. It's like because comment you don't make any profit on a comeback. If you do it, if there's a bad tune-up, I seen there might be a refund. You might be refunding the customer's money. Maybe that technician cracked a spark plug, uh, and now you got to buy a new spark plug. And now that technician is working on that car for free, and he could have been doing another job and making the shop more money. So that's where the cost savings comes in. You pay it forward to get somebody to reduce your comebacks. If you can reduce your comeback 75% by paying forward, that's a drop in the hat. That's like $5 once you look at it over an entire year. So when I that's how I presented it when I was auditioning for that position as foreman, as I said, like this is what I'm going to do. I've audited your last year of comebacks and you spent $180,000 in loss just in comebacks. That was parts. Actually, that was just in parts and loaners. I says that's not accounting lost technician time. I says because for every job that that technician worked on, that's future jobs they can't work on because they're working on a comeback for free. Now that person's disgruntled. I can take care of that. I can resolve that issue, and that guy can keep working. So yeah, a properly trained foreman and a foreman that knows what has responsibilities listed out of what he's supposed to do and keeps the morale up, he can save the shop millions of dollars. We got a person who got promoted to relief four person, four-way person because she ticks off a lot of box. Oh, got it. Spay Bay, and I'm at 120 gallons of diesel and tested potential strikes. Oh god damn. This is a horror story. That is a horror story. But hey, doesn't that look good? I don't think that there isn't a story like that in every shop. It's like we've had some really good female employees that came through the shop, and I'm just disappointed that they left because they were really good workers. But it was because the shop was not built from the ground up for men and women. So there was no women's restroom, no women's locker room in the service bay. So the women were forced to walk through the customer waiting area to the customer waiting bathroom. Now, granted, like they're dirty. Okay. They got dirty hands. They got to wash their hands. They got to use the bathroom. So, you're talking about a manager yelling at somebody for getting a bathroom dirty? Well, dumbass, they don't have anywhere to clean up. So after about 1 or 2 confrontations, yeah, they quit. And, I think that they were very well within their rights to actually go a little bit further with it and take action against the company, but they didn't. They just found other jobs that did have women's restrooms and they moved on with life. But that sucks that they couldn't make a career in my shop. I mean, that really pissed me off once they told me why that they were leaving, that they were being harassed. Shit, one of them was, like, buff as hell too, like, she was benching, like, 200 pounds. That girl would break my hands, and she broke many other things on a car, but only because she didn't know her own strength. She was like She-Hulk in a comical way. If you think of all the cartoon moments of where Hulk tries to open a door and the door handle breaks off, that's how she was with bolts on a car. Like, every one of her wrenches were half-inch wrenches, and I'd be like, "Could you use a quarter inch?" And she'd be like, "Well, the handles are too small for my hands." I was like, "Yeah, I know, but you just, like, snap that bolt in half." It took forever to teach her grace with bolts. It was hilarious. So you're talking about, like, hand tools, like a grade 8 bolt with a 14 millimeter head, she's snapping off accidentally because she doesn't know her own strength. It's hilarious. Like, it cost us money, but it was just downright hilarious. on the service floor. I am fortunate. Uh, for the most part, the crew team I work with, all we are good and we work with. Yes, yes. I'm glad y'all get along. Uh, that is very, very fortunate to be in. It's very rare nowadays to walk into a shop where everybody is buddy buddy. Um, it seems like there's always a lot of the garages that I've walked through in the last couple of years, just looking at garages, I've gotten the feeling that there's cliques, like it's high school. Like you got this clique of retards over there, you got this clique of guys that have been here for 5 plus years, got this clique of people over here that all they do is look at Twitch or TikToks on their phone, and then there's like two or three dudes who are just outcasts, and they're the ones who get stuff done, but they're outcasts because they got attitude from fixing mistakes from the clicks. I was like, what a high school atmosphere. Yeah. Yeah. You're preaching it correct, quick wrench. You know, you get into a timing belt job, like you just do it all. And it's so frustrating when you have a customer who's just fighting with you right before the work starts. And he says, well, do I really need tensioners? Well, like, lady, your car is 10 years old. It has 100,000 miles. Do you really want me to go in there for a timing chain reseal and not like inspect and replace components? She's like, well, how do you know if the tensioner is bad? It's got 100,000 miles. It's bad. He's like, your chains are bad. Everything's bad. I was like, I could glue this thing back together and in 2 years. Your car comes back with chain slack. Do you really want that? And then they go, well, I don't know if I'm going to drive this car in a year. I'll tell you one thing, if you've got a customer driving a 10-year, over 100,000-mile car, and then they just dump 3 grand into a repair, they're fucking driving that car for the next 3 to 5 years because they can't afford another car. Try if I'm there, I'm doing what I can so I don't have to go back. Yeah, yes, and that's what a lot of advisors don't get because advisors are not mechanics, they have no mechanical education. Um, it's horrible when they're up there and they're trying to negotiate prices with customers and then they're bouncing back and forth and they're getting frustrated. Hey, do we really need a chain guide? Yeah, we're replacing chains. They're getting a chain guide. What if they do? I was like, dude, I was like, so this is how I prepped my front office to sell it. And this is what I go through every single time. And it doesn't matter, but I tell them right out the gate, hey, it's like we quote everything because we don't know what we're finding behind Pandora's box. And I am not going to have this car rotting in my garage for a week while I special order parts. So I will quote you everything and I will have all parts available on hand. If I don't need something, consider it a savings. If I get in there and you don't need a phaser, you don't need a phaser. If I get in there and your chains aren't stretched, then you get to keep your chains and so on and so forth. Or you can just get it all one and done and you'll get a perfect warranty for this car. That's how I like to promote it. Yeah, we saw you, CP. Thanks for coming in, CP. Oh, big welcome to have you in here, sir. Yeah, I'm very big on just rebuilding, selling the whole thing. And if you dig in the catalogs too, on the manufacturer side, a lot of times you actually find um, kits just to do the whole thing. Get a timing chain kit, and it's actually cheaper than getting everything pieced out. So when I do on the Subaru EJ engines, the Subaru EJ engine has the timing belt. That's not a timing chain, timing belt. Those are the ones that had to be replaced 10 years, 100,000 miles. Well, Gates makes the belt, and Gates makes a timing belt kit. So I'll just tell the customer, I'm going to order the Gates timing belt kit, and it comes with a water pump. It comes with the tensioner, the pulleys. It's $500. If I buy everything individually from Subaru, it's $1,200. So knowing who makes your original equipment helps out a lot. I do the same thing too with suspension on a lot of the old Subarus. KYB makes our struts, and I can get KYB struts at wholesale prices for like 60 bucks a piece. But if you buy them from the manufacturer because they come in a manufacturer box and they've been stored in a manufacturer facility, you got to pay all their uprate costs, and it can be triple the price. I've seen struts go for 220 off the OEM catalog, but then if I just buy from a warehouse, be like, "Hey, I need that KYB strut that's says it fits the Subaru." It's $60. It shows up in a paper bag, you know, but I don't give a shit about packaging as long as the part works. And then I save my customer a lot of money because I make money off of labor. I don't make money off of car parts at all. And I think a lot of people, a lot of our customers don't understand that. They think that the mechanic is getting a side cut for selling these extensive kits when realistically we really don't. We honestly don't. Maybe if you're a sole proprietor, um, but the only person who's making money off of parts is the parts manager. And it's only a matter of time before parts counter people go along the wayside. If you've ever gone into a Taco Bell, all right, it's like you don't order your own food anymore. You have to go stand in front of a giant tablet. It's at a McDonald's and it's at all the fast food restaurants now. Uh, it's like you have to order your food digitally. They have outsourced that job. The cashier is gone. And the next evolutionary step for a parts department to save money, I'm sorry, the next evolutionary step for a garage to save money is to outsource the parts department. I think it's a matter of time. Maybe in the next 2 years, you're going to see technicians just putting their own parts quotes together, ordering their own parts, and finding out where their parts are coming from, which I think a lot of us would be happy to do because we already do it, right? I don't think there isn't a technician who hasn't hovered over the parts department screen showing the parts guy where the damn tire is at, where the brake pads are at, where the torque converter's at, because he can't go through his own catalog. Ray's a youngster who is a Subi enthusiast, so that's why I love the channel. Thanks, man. I really try to make the channel as comfortable between DIYers, enthusiasts, professional mechanics, and starter mechanics. Uh, and most importantly is try to really show the customer what's actually going on behind the scenes. I think that is what the big shops are really losing is not they're not really letting the mechanics have the win at the end of the day. So you do all this work in the shop and the customer checks out, and whose hand are they shaking? They're shaking a manager's hand, they're shaking a advisor's hands, they're not shaking a technician's hand. Like, just did 15 hours rebuilding your engine. And whose hand are you shaking? The guy up front, the guy who can't even spell engine correctly. That's another story. But that's why I made that short a little while back about just leave, technicians making sure you get your own company business cards. Like I fought for that to the point to where I said I will buy them myself. Like, who are you going through? I'll walk up and get my own. They gave me my own eventually. But now every time I do a job, even if it's an oil change, I leave that business card in there and I let them know, "Hey, I worked on your car." And I have at least at any given time 10 repeat customers a week, all asking me by name. Now, it's really annoying now. It was cute when I had onesie twosies, but now they're coming in. too much to where I actually have to talk to him and tell him, be like, listen, I can't drop everything I'm doing and change your oil like that. It's like, You got to give me a little extra time. Like, I'm pulling a transmission, my hands are full. I'm not shutting down my bay for an oil change, so you can drop off for the day." So now that is, I've kind of put together a nice little cover sheet of collaboration with preferred customers, just explaining like I'm in a unique position of the shop. I don't do fast maintenance. I don't do fast oil changes. If you're for an in and out and you got to get to your Lamaze class, if you got to get to a lunch, it's not going to happen with me. I don't want to disrespect you and inconvenience your day. I can recommend somebody else. And I have 3 other preferred techs that are on the operator's list. So the operator's like, "Oh, okay, you're requesting Joe. Joe only does drop-offs." Okay, they'll drop it off. If not, then they go through one of the other, preferred techs because that's usually what they ask, like, "Well, who should I go through?" I'm like, "Just, give it to Jeremy. I trust Jeremy. Jeremy's a good guy. I watched him come up, and he's got the same work ethic, but he does fast maintenance." But, yeah, it's become an inconvenience now, with my service writers. Like, they're always like, "How do I schedule this guy in?" Like, "Well, you schedule him in as a drop off." It's like, if he wants an oil change, then you tell him to drop off, and I'll get to it within 30 to 60 minutes because I gotta finish up with another customer. It's hard to explain. I'm not trying to blow these people off. I'm just trying to make sure that people are getting the work done on time because, like McDonald was having a trouble with, is time management. You want to do the best job you can, but you got to get the job done under par without pissing off your manager, your writer, and your customer. So that's kind of what I've had to tell the people is, I'm sorry. Like, my dance card is full today. Drop off and I'll get to it tomorrow. Yes, CP. Still waiting for you to Still waiting to hear if Bruce is going to throw you through the door, CP. If anybody didn't check in or is not a fan on CP's channel, he has some very, very interactions with the Horrible Freight and some people who are posing as Horrible Freight employees, I suspect. So it's all good comedy there. I don't think there's anything personal going on. So if you want to hear more about tools and who's making what tool and what tool is getting made in what country, and almost to the point of like what steel they use, CP is the guy to go through. I I don't even try and humor talking about that because he's been a Mac tool driver. He knows the industry. He knows where everything gets outsourced to. He knows who's rebranding what, and he still keeps up with it in a way I don't understand. Got his he's got his fingers still in the honeypot somewhere getting some information. And CP, my tool dealers, they are so pissed off at you because you get flyers before they do. My Mac tool driver watches your channel for the flyers. Like when that Black Friday flyer that came out, he was ordering stuff and the franchiser was like, "We don't have this promo deal." He's like, "You got it. You got it." And he's trying to get that Cobra plier. He's like, I want 30 of these and I want these pry bars." And he had the voice recording of the voicemail from his franchiser and the people above him like, "How did you like we haven't even sent these out to your area yet. You can't order this stuff yet." And he's like, "I'm ordering it." He got a few of it, but the guys in the Midwest really uh they got all the good stuff first. He got a little bit of the trickle in stuff. Ain't that the truth? Is a tough job to be happy every day, and many variables can make a fellow lose his cool. I definitely am a Madonna. Yes, yes. Folks, we have to admit who we are in order to understand who we are. Uh, It really, really does suck. Let me actually I'm gonna do a plug right now for a book. If anybody is having productivity problems, if you're having time management problems, coworker problems, manager problems, I have a wonderful, wonderful self-help book. It is a New York Times bestseller. I highly recommend you purchase the audio version of it. It's 15 doll hairs. Okay. And we're going to copy the link and I'm going to post it up in the chat and hopefully it goes through the chat. Paste. And we're going to go right into the banner here. Control V. Well, that's not going to help you guys. I'm going to get the title of it here. The subtle art of not giving a fuck. It's really a book. And guys, buy the audio version. It's a 5-hour listen. It's read by the author, Mark Manson, and he is really, really good. I always ask everybody to email me after they've listened to the book and tell me exactly what was going through their head when he gets to the part about the panda. Because that is when you get to the part about the panda, it's you're gonna shit yourself laughing. Uh, but gentlemen, I honestly think that this book is a read for every mechanic. It's a listen. Buy the audiobook, 15 bucks. Best Christmas present ever. But it's a book about recognizing what you should and what you shouldn't be involved in. Because too many of us feel that we just need to comment on something. And I blame the internet for that. The internet has given us the ability to leave comment and feedback on everything. Don't like a restaurant? Leave feedback, leave a photo. You don't like someone's video? Leave a comment. You just do it without thinking about it now, and you don't know how you said it. You dismiss it as soon as you hit send, and you never see it again. Um, well, your brain is starting to do the same thing around your work life. You know, you see somebody do something over there, you see somebody do something over there, and you're just going like, "Well, I can't. If I talk to them personally, that'd be disrespectful, Joe. Well, so I'm just gonna bottle it up, and I'm gonna get angry, and then one day I'm gonna let out on them." No, this book gives you the pointers on how you can reprogram yourself and be like, well, shit's gonna happen over there, but I'm over here. Let me get back to work. That's kind of what it is. You know, you got a best friend who's really bad at spending money and he's always bugging you about his bills. Well, don't let it beat you up. You just have a friend with really bad money handling skills, and that's the end of it. Instead of thinking, damn, I hate Billy. He's a good guy, but I always hate him when he asks me for $5. Well, you don't have to give him $5. Does that make you a mean person? No. That just makes you a person who's not going to give Billy $5. That's it. What Billy thinks of you, Billy thinks of you. And maybe Billy will go away after a while if he keeps thinking that way and he can go find somebody else to get $5 from. But guys, it's a great book. It's a great book. And if you listen to it, tell me about the panda. I really want to hear your experience. I'll bring you on the show. You can tell me about the panda. See, I think we're at here. Ain't that the truth? Madonna's, yes, we're with Cat now. Now that you mention it, my honest partner is Miller. Her husband works on the next voice too. She's a decent tech, been here a long time, and very considerate to work. Yeah, and you know what? Guys, try this at work. Try this at work one time. It'll blow somebody's mind. Tell them they're doing a good job. Yeah, I kinda had the same feedback when I heard it. I was like, "Psh, I ain't gonna tell that. I'm a man." No, it's it's part of another self-help book that I got into, and I'll talk about that one in another show. But yeah, guys, even if it's something little, let somebody know they did a good job because honestly, when was the last time somebody walked up to you and said, "Hey man, you just did a good job"? When was the last time you got a fucking attaboy? It all starts with somebody. You start that behavior in the shop, it's toxic, and you'll create the best work environment ever. I swear you will. Okay. May not happen with the first person, may not happen with the second person, but if you keep it up, you're going to be the attaboy guy. You're going to be the one going around and being like, man, good job. Got that car out on time. Good job. Figured out that problem. I knew you could do it. And you boost somebody's confidence up, it'll come back to you 100%. It really will. And we just don't do that anymore. I worked with a dude called Bear Moose. Yeah, cool. Still good buddies with him many years later, but it took me a long time to teach him how to use his ham hock mitts. Yes, yes. Some people don't really understand how leverage works. They think everything has to be tightened with a 3-foot pole, right? Harbor Area Tech is good to see you. Jumping on in. Yes. A little 30-minute conversation just turned into 2.5 hours. You guys are going to wear me out. Oh, man. You guys know each other? That's awesome. Vagrants, that's what I meant. I like to I keep getting pop-ups over these things. I'm so sorry. I like to use what was OE on the car. Okay, I like to use what was OEM on the car. Not saying I only buy parts from dealers. Don't like the cheap shit and won't. I get it. I get it, man. It's like uh, I've uh I've accrued quite the talents of working with Napa parts, O'Reilly parts, AutoZone parts, CarQuest parts. I kinda know what to predict now when I'm ordering things from them, like, what's gonna break on there. For instance, like, if you get a remanufactured power steering pump, I know now to check all the hydraulic fittings to make sure that the threads are good before I bolt it on, because nothing worse than trying to put that banjo bolt in there and the threads are dicked up, to make sure that the compression fitting doesn't have a nick in it. There was one where I installed it. It's like a 2-hour install, get all the lines hooked up, charge the system, and it's pissing out the the compression point where the banjo bolt gets clamped up. Pissed off. Okay, what's going on? It's like I put a new washer on there. I put a new crushed copper washer. It's torqued correctly. It's leaking. So, all right, depressurize the system, drip all the hydraulic fluid out, look at it. There's a damn nick. It's a deep nick too. So, luckily, it didn't make too big of a difference that we took a file and just shaved down probably like a good 15 thousandths. And that was a long time filing because I was like, I'm not taking this thing back out. It's in. So, over your head, 5 feet, just like 30 minutes just doing this, taking turns with another guy. I was like, we're going to work it down. And we did. And we bolted it up and it crushed just fine. Ah, Chop Cat just got off work. Dang. Everybody take those 3 days off. You need it. Surprisingly, there's a lot of better aftermarket parts for Jeeps than Chrysler offers, especially for their oil cooler that has the integrated oil pressure switch. Uh, Plastic just wasn't a good choice, but now you can get some all aluminum ones that are the bee's knees, and they're not that much more, like maybe another $150 over OEM price. The parts department workers make more money than most techs at the dealership used to work. Yeah, that's kind of a scary thought. Uh, if you're in the right shop and you're in the right position and you're a parts department guy and you know your parts, you can make money. I know a couple of them. I left them at another dealership, but they were the go-to parts guys because you could just walk up and say, "Hey George, here's the work order number. I'm going to do a short block, customer pay. You know what I need." That's all he knew, and he'd quote it correctly. And you did not have to stand over that counter for 30 minutes. And it was because that guy got to know the catalog that well. But he also kept a nice little journal on what tech likes to get what parts for what job. So with me, whenever I did an engine, I always wanted the engine reseal kit because it came with every nick and cranny pass that it came with every gasket and O-ring that I could possibly think of on that engine. Because when you tear something down, you don't know what you need, and I don't want to go back to parts for another thing. Other guys didn't care for that; they just wanted the bare minimum. So he catered to everybody, and he worked for his money. He really did. I respected him. He worked for his money. Other people got really jealous of it, and I would coach them and say, "Well, this is what he's doing, and he does this for me. Like, he actually helps me. He comes out to my bay and says, 'I couldn't find it,' or 'It's not available.' He doesn't wait for me the next day to go, 'Hey, my parts didn't show up,' and then go, 'Oh, yeah, I couldn't order it because, I didn't see it in the catalog.' He won't do that to me. Like, he comes to me. Like, he works for his money, man. So then that next guy started doing that too, started getting a little bit more aware of his situation that he needed to go walk the floor. Just checked out and subscribed to your channel at Shopcat. Good. Yeah. Man, there's everybody that's in the chat right now. They are pumping videos on all kinds of content. Go share the love. Go check them all out. We're all good content creators here. Order all my parts, not just for me, but for most of the time, everyone else. I get paid for it as well as training on a weekly basis. Dude, that's good. That's a good way to live. Thank your subscribers. There you go. Turn to favor. Harbor Area Tech. Looks like some fascinating Lexus. Oh, you got Lexus. Okay. All right. We're going to bring up some. Okay. Got to shut down that studio page, open up a fresh page. Go to here. Let's see if we find him. There you are. Let's get some promotional going on here for the Harbor Area Tech. You'll have to excuse me while I figure out how to use my screen share. There we go. Shopcat, take you down. Take that banner off. All right, Harbor Area Tech. We are subscribed. There you go. One more. We got a video on the worst starter location. I like the combination of air tool and cordless tool there. That was classic. Good jump cuts. You're putting some time into your editing, man. You really are. A lot of one-handed action here. You must be shooting with a cell phone or a GoPro. This is good stuff. Wow, you actually work those push rivets out? I hate those screw and push rivets the most. actually using a flare nut wrench. Awesome. This is really good step-by-step stuff, man. You're very detailed. All right, man. We'll be watching you. I'll be watching. I need to learn more about Lexus and Toyota. That's good to know. Well, while we're here, let's see what Shopcat's been up to. Let's help everybody out. If I can spell shop. What are we up to? I saw a bus on that last page. Where is it at? Antique transit bus. Oh man, you got t-shirts? You lucky. I'm gonna have to start going through all the channels and buy all your guys' stickers. Dude, that is a crazy old bus. Look at that doghouse. Holy crap. And that was that right there. That's a stick shifter. Oh, that's wild, man. That's so wild. Man, I got so caught up on my channel, I haven't surfed my other guys' channels in a while. I need to get up in there, man. Let's check out the vids because you're doing shorts and vids a lot too. New channel trailer? Good work. Yeah, you do got a ton of cats. Dude, that's some good stuff right there. All right, see who else we got in here. Quick wrench. What are we up to? It's on the vids side. Not too much on the vids. Let's see what's on the short side. Lots of shorts. All right, so we're a shorts guy here. And oh yeah,
Not to continue to drive your car. It's overheated. Check this out, folks.
holy!
Exhaust coming right off the coolant bypass pipe. Do it right off. Exhaust coming right off. Stop that. That bad PCB valve here. Don't put yourself in this predicament. Maintain your car. If you're overheating, do yourself a favor. Shut it off.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I got so many of my customers. They drive the cars. They're like, yeah, like there was like a light flashing red, and you drove it here. Well, I didn't know what to do. Okay, well, what could have been, ma'am, a $300 fix is that's now going to be a $3,500 fix. Uh, RTFM guys, read the fucking manual, right? I don't understand customers and cars. If you're in the chat, hey chat, if you're a customer, I'm going to tell you the honest truth. Customers spend more time watching video reviews and learning about their cell phone accessories and their cell phones than they do about the damn car that they drive. You're paying car payments. I see people pay car payments of $800 a month. Okay. That's like part of somebody's rent or mortgage, and you don't have the time to actually wonder what all the goofy lights are be like, "Hey, like, what lights gotta mean my engine's shutting down?" That's in your owner's manual, and those owner's manuals, you you know they're written at a 6th grade reading level, right? There's no big fancy words in there. They purposely write them at a 6th grade reading level so people are not intimidated by it. Alright, who else we got? Did we do Yeah, we did Harbor Area Tech. We did Shopcat. We did Quick Wrench. Monkey. Let's see what's on Monkey's pay. Make sure I click that subscribe. See what's going on. What do we got that's going to stand out today? Are we doing videos? We're doing shorts. We're doing shorts.
Little update on the triple D Dodge Dart. You can use your imagination for the other D. I got the spinny bits out on both sides, which is nice. It came apart rather gracefully. I'm trying to get these top transmission bolts out, but my Hyper Tough tool has like a 90-degree arc, and I can't. Yeah, so I got to loosen them first. But it's coming apart. My goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Dang.
Little.
I know we got Wrenching Mafia in here. Dude, I'm liking this new logo. That's slick.
What do you guys think about this oil change? As you guys can see right here, I am using a fluid extractor to basically drain the oil. Do you
Yes.
guys think I'm removing all the oil from the vehicle, or you think there's some left in there? Is this a good idea or not? What?
That's very true. I get a lot of criticism. People think that siphoning out oil from the pan doesn't get everything, but honestly, with a lot of manufacturers, that is the way that they recommend it. If you work on Rovers and Mercedes, Porsches, Maseratis, they have so much undercarriage protection and so many bolts and fasteners. They don't want you to drain it. They just want you to siphon it out. Now, if we go here,
I am using a fluid extractor.
right here, he's using a fluid extractor, and in the short, okay, it is emptied out. All right, so he knows how much he's taken out. He knows what this engine holds, and that is key. Notice he's also using the pneumatic assisted one. He's not using the pump. Yeah, you gotta. That's if you're gonna do it this way, get the airlift style, this pneumatic style, and you're gonna need a compressor that can keep up. Those little $200 horrible freight compressors that run on like a 1.5 horsepower is not going to keep up with this thing. This sucker's going to bleed it dry. You need to have at least 2.5 horses pushing out 20 CFM to keep this thing going for about 20 minutes. Because I actually do have one of these in my stall, and it will take anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes, depending on the diameter of the straw that I use to completely evacuate the oil out of the engine area. And I always do like an extra 5 minutes just to make sure I get everything. But it's got to be measured out. So I look at what comes in. I'm like, okay, well, that's what I should be getting out ish, like plus or minus 5%. Um, So you put that amount back. I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. So if you come up short, then that's when you would be kind of like, what do I do? If you come up short, make sure you don't have a pinch straw. That happens a lot. Sometimes you jam these in so much that they can pinch themselves off. So you might have to pull up the straw a little bit, push it back down, make sure, see if it starts picking up oil again. But usually, if it comes up short, it's probably because somebody didn't put the correct amount of oil in. Maybe the customer went over their oil change interval and started burning up oil, or maybe the engine just burns oil altogether. So when you go to actually add oil, if you were supposed to siphon out 5 quarts of oil and you're adding it and you come up a quart short and then you go to put oil back in and you are a quart heavy, then that means that you got a kink in your siphon somewhere and you didn't pull out the last bit. So when you roll these hoses back up, make sure you take care of them and you don't make kinks. Because if you get a kink, then just get a new hose, call it done. And you don't have to get the hose from the Mighty Vac people. You can just go to any hardware store and you can get hose for this thing. I have at any given time, I have about 30 feet of this hose on backup. Now, I've also invested in to another company who makes these siphon machines, and they actually make smaller diameter hoses that actually clip on to this 1/4 inch hose. The siphoning does take a little extra longer, but I've never come up short again. But yeah, this is a really badass tool to have, especially if you're working on Euro. It's just set it and forget it. Just literally go on and go do somebody else, go do another job. Like I could set this up in a parking lot and go do another oil change. And by the time I'm done with that oil change, I come back to this oil change. It's already siphoned out. I just put oil in it. Then I can drive it in the bay and finish up the inspection, and I'm done. Let's go to CP's channel. CP. All right. CP is our local tool expert. If you have Q&A about hand tools, where they're sourced from, he's the one to talk to. I would ask him first. He just knows it. This was his industry. This was his thing. He knows who's peddling what piece of trash. And he's also, if you get onto his main page, he's actually published who he subscribed to. And he actually does have some really, really good feeds of who he subscribed to. And you'll like him a lot. CP posts weekly, and he's always known for going over the tool catalogs for Cornhole, Mac Tools, Macco, and Snap On. He'll also get some other tools in here from the Horrible Freight or Koken and review about those. He's just all around knows about tools and he has good opinions about tools. And his opinions about tools, they're very unbiased. Like if he doesn't like something, he'll tell you why he doesn't like it. And if he likes something, he'll tell you why he spent that much money for it. Because I'm guilty of it. I do have some snap-on wrenches, and I buy them purposely because I like the clicks, I like the back drag, I like the handles, I like the flex, I like everything about it. And a $50 wrench is not going to give it to me. That's why you paid $150 for that stupid thing, is because it moves the way that you want it to move, and it's predictable. That's kind of the attraction to the really expensive ratchets and wrenches is it's super predictable. And when you're doing wrenching for a living, that's what you want. You want a predictable tool that moves in the position that you are trying to move it in. It doesn't have this every once in a while slip or kink, or maybe it doesn't release or it rounds off a bolt. That's why we paid big dollars for tools. All right. Where are we at now? Parts people make more money. Yep. We're going to start scrolling down. I'm going to pull a JT and we're going to start going to the bottom and find people what's going on at the bottom. And we're going to be busting out of here, folks. I am losing my voice. It's going on 9 p.m. for me. There is absolutely no bullshit with CV. Yeah, he's got his own colorful language, folks, and take it or leave it. That's how he is. You either like him or you don't. He won't hate on you if you don't hate on him. That's all it is. If you don't like his stuff, fine, go away. But if you bring him into something, I guarantee you that boy's gonna shut you down hard. Checking the oil. No, it burns. Yeah. So we're gonna go back one page here, and we get my present, get my slide. Is this it right here? Yes. Bring this up. Remove. Add to stage. Remove cat. All right. So just to top it off again, go to Automotive Diagnostics and Programming. Megan will be running for MS. She is doing a mega relay run from West Coast to East Coast. You could read her story on the channel. They do have a link where you can make a $25 donation to her charity run here. If you make a donation of 25 minimum on this page, it will get you entered into a Top Don Phoenix Light scan tool. Okay, that is a $900 tool. All I got to do is make 25 bucks. Baja Automotive has also just made a donation of all YouTube proceeds from now until the end of the run. So if you purchase a membership or if you make a donation in Super Chat, all that is going to go to the mega run. I'm going to write one big ugly check at the end of April. She is currently, as of today, very close to her meeting her goal. She's only $1,100 away, and I am really hoping to push this over the hill and get her past her goal. I want to personally see this thing go $1,000 over. So if you have any questions about where to go for that, you can go to my YouTube shorts. I have instructions on a YouTube short. Let me bring up my page here so you know what I'm talking about. So if you go to a content creator's channel, they have these tabs right up here. First off is the community tabs. Okay, I have a link right here in the community tab with the video that we made for the promotion. And
giving Top Dawn is going to be giving away a scan tool called the Phoenix Light 2.
This is Megan, and she's going to do something incredible. Megan is part of a 21-member relay team going across America raising awareness for MS. Megan will be running this 153-mile stretch, estimated to take 6 days. If Megan was driving a car, this trip would only take 2 hours and 17 minutes. But cars are not allowed. She has to do it on foot, so here's the trail. The 6-day journey starts in Caliente, Nevada. This 153-mile obstacle course was designed personally by Mother Nature herself. The biggest crux on her journey will be the elevation. Megan will peak out at 1.5 miles high along her route, where the air will be thin. So smash that like button, leave me a comment, and go to the pinned post where you'll find all the instructions on how to get into the Top Don drawing and win a scan tool for helping out. All right, so links, all the information that you need is in the pinned comment right here. You can click on this link and it's going to take you right to our donation page. You click donate and you choose your donation amount. Remember, you got to make a minimum $25 in order to get into the top Don drawing. And the top Don drawing is going to end January 2024. So get your donation in before then. Thank you, Wrenching Mafia. Thank you very much. All right, folks. I want to thank you for hanging out with me. I'm glad that we turned this into a good conversation. We made it to 3 hours. My voice is completely trashed. So I'm going to go nurse a beer and chill out. I want everyone to have a fantastic holiday. Let me know how it is next year, and we'll catch up then. If you are in the Michigan area, you can email me right there. Bahaha Automotive, Bajaha automotive at gmail.com. Email me there. Maybe we can sync up somehow if we're within driving distance. Hit some. I'm definitely gonna be chasing down some Rally Burgers in White Castle while I'm up there because I haven't had one in 10 years. And maybe head up to Detroit and get a real Dunkin' Donut. The Dunkin' Donuts down here in Texas are POSs. They're not the real Dunkin' Donuts. So, everyone, take care. Have a great day. Goodbye.